microphone. Thank you very much. We're going to begin the meeting. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter via our website and email have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Mr. Chairman, the meeting is yours.
Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen.
Present.
Browning.
Present.
Fluker. August, are you there? Mr. Chairman, I know August is here, but I can't hear him. Curry.
Okay. Oh, I see him.
Yeah. McCray Scott.
He's muted.
Okay.
Present.
Paul. Blythe.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. The first one is a special presentation, public art. This is the Peace Mural at 5602 Clark Avenue. Tara, are you going to introduce these, please?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Commission. This mural is by a local artist, Iraqi-born local artist, Kubra Al-Halali. This project is a project of the Creative Fusion. Kubra is their artist in residence, and it's a collaboration with Building Hope in the City. It was approved at Northwest Design Review unanimously on August 11th. And here to present, Susan Underwood is not going to be joining us today from Metro West, but Anthony Giambroni from Building Hope in the City is going to go through the presentation. And with that said, I'm expressing my support of this project, and I'm going to turn it over to Anthony. Thank you.
Excellent. Hey everyone, good morning. Anthony Giambroni with Building Hope in the City. So yeah, this is a Creative Fusion project. Kubra has a studio in the Stockyards neighborhood close by where this mural will be done. She's participated in some workshops for youth in the neighborhood as well. And she'll be doing some other studio events in the community also. So this is some of her art. Obviously very colorful, lots of Arabic script and lots of Iraqi symbolism, as you can see kind of throughout the fish and other elements. You can continue, Tara. This was from her recent studio open. She had a great participation from the community and just the Cleveland art world. And yeah, very exciting. So continue, please. So she, as was said, originally from Iraq, a former refugee, now lives in Cleveland and trying to make her way, as an artist. So this would be her first ever mural. She's done lots of indoor murals before, but we actually met Kubra when she came to us. We have a community center for refugees and immigrants in West Park. She came to us in about 2016 or 17, and a couple, 1 or 2 years after being placed here from Iraq. And she came to us first for citizenship help and English, and her whole family came, in fact. So that's how we first got to know her. And when Creative Fusion came around, it was an obvious choice for us. And so, as I said, her residency includes this mural, the studio space next to Thomas Jefferson, in partnership with U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants at one of their locations. And recently just got done with a workshop at the studio, and we'll be having workshops and a student-led mural forthcoming at Clark Elementary. So this is the building, citywide carpet, and owned by Sam Hasrouni. He owns a couple of buildings on Clark Avenue. And yeah, we've had regular communication with him about the mural, gotten his approval multiple times along the way, and he is excited for it as well. So. You can continue, Tara. Thank you. So this is just a black and white iteration of the mural. And keep in mind, this is done in digital format, not Kubra's primary medium. So, just keep that in mind as you look at this version and the colored version. But yeah, title is World Peace Begins with Inner Peace. Lots of her themes just come from a place of experiencing very real things in Iraq and war-torn Iraq in the earlier 2000s. And so even just the languages around the mural represent, we tried to be intentional about those representing the various main, the various communities and populations that have lived in the neighborhood. The measurements of the mural are 20 foot by 10 foot. And, as I said, she hopes to send a message of peace even in the midst of difference, and even in the midst of perceived barriers, kind of inspired by her own journey. So, next slide, Tara. This is just another look at the wall. As you can see, it's already kind of outlined as a mural. That white border is kind of a frame. So it kind of sticks out a little bit. So it's kind of just the perfect, spot in a way. So yesterday it was actually professionally primed by a local paint company. And yeah. Next slide. And just another sketch of the layout. And you can see the citywide carpet sign there. Right across the street is actually Clark Elementary. So this is on 56 and Clark. Yeah. So yeah, colored palette. This is, you can kind of see below in the artwork, that's a circle, kind of what this looks like in real life, as opposed to what she was able to do digitally. But lots of muted golds, tans, blues, lots of bright colors. And so the face, even you can see in the bottom, is not as detailed as the one above. And just, difficult providing something digitally when that is not your primary medium. So just to give you kind of examples of what it would look like. Next slide. So as I said, for the maintenance plan, it was already primed. We'll be using Sherwin-Williams outdoor paint and then covering it with anti-graffiti coating. We'll, Building Hope with support of Metro West CDO will assume responsibility for the maintenance should graffiti take place or other issues. And Sam, the owner, has no plans to sell the building in the near future. So that's the plan. Is there another slide, or was that it, Tara? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Commission members?
Move approval, Downing.
Second, Fluker.
Motion second, further discussion? Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing, Hooker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
yes,
Blythe,
Yes.
Motion carries. Good luck. This is the World War I Liberty Row mural. It's at 10600 East Boulevard. Tara, go ahead.
Thank you. This is a actual memorial, and it is in front of the VA hospital over in Ward 9. It was approved unanimously at Euclid Corridor Design Review yesterday with the condition to enlarge the plaza. This is a city project, and so I think it's a wonderful memorial, and I think it's a very appropriate location at the Veterans Administration Hospital. I want to turn it over to Jim McKnight from the Mayor's Office of Capital Projects to go through the slides. Thank you.
Hey, Jim.
Good morning. Thank you, Tara. And good morning, everybody. The city's proposing to build a memorial to the World War I veterans who were initially commemorated in a series of oak tree plantings known as Liberty Row. This was a planting of trees in essentially 1919, 1920 that went from the lake or Gordon Park all the way through Rockefeller Park, through Wade Park, Ambler Park, and then ultimately up into Cleveland and Shaker Heights. And over the years, those trees have declined, and we would now like to preserve their names in a central location in Wade Park, directly in front of the Veterans Hospital. Next. So the site is at East 105th, directly in front of the CARES Tower of the VA. We have met with the VA. They're in support of this. And it is also adjacent to a memorial called the Gold Star Memorial. And this was a memorial that was put in 2 years ago to fallen soldiers of all wars. In this case, we're going to build a plaza on the corner. You can go to the next slide. This is the concept plan that actually shows the context of the World War I Memorial, Liberty Row Memorial with the Gold Star. You see the Gold Star with the star in the center of that plan view. And the World War I Memorial is at the to the west of it, on the closer to the corner of 105th and MLK as it comes through Rockefeller Park and into Wade Park. This concept was something that we shared with the VA and sort of looked at a couple of years ago with them when we were citing the Gold Star Memorial. Next. So the memorial itself will be a plaza on the corner with a vertical black granite polished wall. And this is the same material that the Gold Star Memorial is fabricated out of. And so it has a similar character and typology than as the Gold Star Memorial. It's a center wall on a diagonal with a pervious paver plaza around it, and then seat walls, 3 seat walls that inform or define the space for visitors. And then there'll also be a couple of new oak plantings and an existing oak that will remain. The original oak Liberty Row had individual medallions with a soldier's name at each tree. And over the years, as the trees have declined, the medallions have also been lost. We have salvaged a couple of medallions, and we will place them adjacent to these 2 new trees that are planted. Next, please. So the character of the memorial, as I mentioned, is a 5-tablet black granite wall with engraved names on both sides of the wall, and then central text in the center. And we'll show you some elevations of those. The plaza space, again, is pervious paver, is approximately 36 foot in diameter. And I think one of the suggestions from yesterday's design review is to create a little bit more space at the ends of the wall. So the form of it may be more elliptical than what it shows in plan. And so we'll enlarge the paver plaza slightly. Next. Here's the elevations of the wall. Maximum height is 5 feet, going to 3.5 feet on the ends. On the side facing East 105th is the Liberty Road text, and again flanked by names on both sides of the central tablet. And then on the back side facing east is a commemorative poem from the era of post-World War I. Next. Here's the Liberty Row text. So we took a look at the text, and I obviously want to identify World War I, but also the significance of the living memorial that was planted initially. So we, in this text, define what Liberty Row was, and the commemoration that over the years has declined, but want to make sure that we note the significance of that living memorial and that was initially planted. Next. And then on the back side, or the side facing east, will be this poem, and that'll be laser etched into the wall. And again, it is polished black granite, and then the names are actually engraved. The names, as well as the text on the previous slide, are engraved, but this will be a laser etched image. Next. I think that's it. Okay. So if there are any questions, I can certainly entertain them.
How is this being funded?
The city received some funding from the VA, ironically, that needed to be spent in Wade Park. And this was part of a land swap that was done when the Caris Tower was built and the East 105th and MLK intersection was reconfigured. I know some of you may remember an old traffic circle that was right at the base of East Boulevard. And so that traffic was rearranged, the land was reconfigured, and there was approximately, I believe, $250,000 that was transferred from VA to the city. And that's the funding we're using for this.
Thank you. I move approval. Downing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Further discussion? Nice job, Jim, by the way.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Very attractive. Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing.
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
yes,
Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. Good luck.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Clee, wall murals, Tara, you take this.
Yes, this project is a project of Midtown Cleveland. Joyce Wan will not be joining us. She's busy with the artists getting ready to start the installations for next week. But this originally came to the commission back in 2019, September 2019, under the original name of Pow Wow, which is was started in Hawaii and it's been all over the world. The locations were approved in 2019. And then, of course, the pandemic slowed down the initial installation, which would have been last year. Last year, the concepts came to you all in July of 2020. and those were approved. And this is the last round of locations and concepts from the artists. It was approved by the Northwest Design Review. Near West Design, Euclid Corridor Design Review on yesterday. And most of these locations are in Ward 7. One location is in Ward 6. Obviously, this is a huge project, multiple locations in the city. It's very exciting, and I am in support of it. And I want to turn this over to Joe Lanzalotta to go through the slides. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tara. Morning, everyone. So yeah, we have presented this project to you, I think, at least two times now in the past, before the pandemic. So I will make this relatively brief, as I know you have a large agenda today. So I'm going to show you a couple sites that some of which have been already approved by this committee, and some which have not. So the ones that have, we're just showing revised concepts on those walls, and a few walls that are brand new, but all have been approved by Euclid. So you can advance. Next slide, please. So this is the ACLU building on Chester, which has already been approved. You can see the yellow areas where we'll be painting. Next slide. This is an in-progress sketch by Colorado-based artist Detour and Massachusetts-based artist Hyro. This is going to be in honor of Garrett Morgan. So this is just kind of a brief sketch level concept, which will have additional elements and colors to it. If you advance to the next slide, you can see their completed style. So very colorful, highly kind of realist portraiture. Next slide. This next piece is 1215 East 79th Street, which is the UMADOP office, as well as Distinguished Gentleman of the Spoken Word. Next slide. This is a concept by Gary Williams and Robin Robinson, two Cleveland-based artists. Next slide, please. 7113 Euclid Avenue. So this is the headquarters of the Cleveland Walls event. So there'll be multiple things happening at this site. We're looking to paint these boards on the front of the building here. Next slide. And this will be painted by artist Isaiah Williams, who goes by Star Being. This is just a sketch level concept. Next slide. On the side of this building, there's actually already an art piece here, but we'll be adding a couple other art pieces. Next slide. By Graffiti Heart. They're bringing in a couple artists from New York City who are kind of old school graffiti writers who helped start the graffiti movement in New York City. So they're going to be doing some graffiti writing on the side of the building as well. Next slide. 7719 Carnegie Avenue. So we're looking at painting this portion right here of the building. This is kind of adjacent, next door to the Lancer Motel. And this is, you can advance to the next slide. This is a piece by Glenn Infante, who is a local artist, also the founder of Ilthy Clothing. So next slide. This piece is actually being nixed from the presentation, so we could advance. Advance again, please. This site, 3634 Euclid, is on the side of the New Bridge Academy building. And we're looking at this entire wall here up to the blocks. Those will not be painted on the side here, but you could advance to the next slide. This will be done by Chicago-based artist Kate Lewis. So this is probably our biggest mural of the bunch, and we're really excited to be able to add this to the landscape. Next slide, please. All right, this is at 1776 East 40th Street, so it's at the corner of, I think it's really the corner of 39th and Payne Avenue. We have local artist. Next slide. Days One, who will be painting. Days is Cleveland-based. He runs a tattoo shop called Red Lion, just a block over on Superior or St. Clair, and he's been highly involved in graffiti culture here in Cleveland and the community in general. So really excited to have him on board. He also has a painting further down Payne Avenue of a koi fish that folks might be familiar with. Just really beautiful, highly talented artist. Next slide. This is 3311 Perkins. So this is another site that had already been approved, but we're changing artists last minute. So we're looking at this section of the building right here. You could advance. By Brooklyn-based artist Kevin Lyons. So you can see on the left-hand side, this is kind of generally what his work looks like after it's colored. And the sketch on the right is what he's proposing at this location here. Next slide. And that is it.
Thank you. Commission members.
Move approval, Downing.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Further discussion? Michael, call the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
yes,
Slight,
Yes.
Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Oriana House, Fannie Lewis mural. This is at 1834 East 55th Street. Go ahead, Tara.
Yes, this mural it's actually a mural and some planters on the sidewalk is across the street from the Oriana House on 55th and Ward 7. It was approved at Euclid Corridor Design Review yesterday, unanimously. And I'm going to turn it over to, I don't think I'm not sure if the artist is here, but Ilya McGee from Oriana House, and then the local artist, Catherine Chilcote, has several works around the city that she's done. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to them to go through the slides. Thank you.
Thank you.
hello. This is Catherine Chilcote with Building Bridges Arts Collaborative. This project is in front of Oriana House, at which we're doing several murals to change the dynamic of the reentry center there. There's also an alcohol and drug treatment center there on 55th, and we're just shifting the energy visual.
Oh, can't hear you.
Uh-oh, something
I
happened.
believe we lost her, she lost her connection. Video is frozen.
Okay.
Ilya
Is there
here.
someone
if
that
he
can finish
chime in.
this? Pardon me?
Ilya McGee from the Oriana House is here if he could.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So the painting, the first one that you're taking a look at is one of the artworks that they redid that Catherine and her group, the Mark Howard mural, which is located on 55th at our Fannie Lewis Center. They redid it and went over it, and it looks amazing since it's been done. You can go to the next one, Tara. That's them continuing to fill in and redo the current artwork that was posted on the building across the street on East 55th. Next, Tara. That's the finished product of the wall mural as they completed it and did the re-over from the project. This is a project that was done on the front entrance part of the facility. Catherine's group did this about a year or so ago, and it looks amazing as part of
The
unification.
mural we finished last year on the family Lewis
Catherine, you're breaking up.
building. Uh, it's a commission home by Keisha
I'm going to mute her because
Foster
I don't know if anybody can understand.
No, we can't. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, Chair, we can move on to the next one. This is a photo of the building in which we were looking to do the design to your right, and this is East 55th, where on the right-hand side, you'll see the red building. That's where we're looking to start the project. To your left is where one of our facilities, the Fannie Lewis Center, is located with the murals. Next.
Hey guys, check this out. If you own a home,
Chair, you can move to this is the location in which we were looking to start the mural. Catherine, are you back?
Maybe Ilya can just finish the presentation since Catherine's having difficulties.
Yep, I agree. Keep on going.
Okay, so this is the front. This is the front of the facility. This is our North Star Reentry Resource Center, and it's located on the front of East 55th. And this is where we started the mural for the Fannie Lewis mural and family. We can move to the next one. Okay, this is a sculpture with the dimensions of the mural as it would go up on the facility, and with the edges coming around, it would curve around the parking lot entrance as we move forward. As you can see that we have the photo of Ms. Lewis, and we have photos of family unification and building, and that's the theme of the mural itself. Just pretty much looking at family reunification, building family ties, and really dedicating this back to Ms. Lewis and her family, and for the things that she's done within the Huff community. And this is done by Catherine Chilcote. She's the artist, and as you'll see to the right, those are two of the gentlemen who currently work with Catherine on this project. Next. Next is we've looked at the measurements for planners being placed on the sides. We're looking to have those in front of the murals, and just for beautification, and just we thought that it would add a nice look with the mural and coming down 55th, and hopefully people will slow down and take a look at the amazing work that's being done or have been done on the building. Next. And that's a clear version of the painting, the work. The background, as you see, will be in color. So right now, it doesn't show the coloring, but it will be colored in the background. to just bring out the picture, the mural itself. Next. These are the dimensions, and Catherine's not here, so she kind of knows a lot more about the dimensions. But as you can see, this is a top view and where the mural would go. It also, the top portrait, it indicates where we would put planners and how the view would look with the artwork. Next here. This is actually just another view. As you can see, this is the bottom portrait is the outside view of the fencing as you would go into the parking lot, and the top portion is the parking lot and how the planners would look with locations and everything. Next. I apologize for.
That's okay.
I kind of got caught off guard. I knew the other things, but the murals, dimensions and stuff, Catherine was a little more detailed as she was the artist. But
You did a fine job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commission members?
Move approval, Downing.
Second, McCray Scott.
Okay, we have a motion, second, further discussion. Michael, call the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott.
Yes.
I see Commissioner Paul. Okay, I see Commissioner Paul is here. So Paul,
Yes.
Blythe,
Yes.
Motion carries. Lot consolidation and lot splits, permanent parcel number 00708, 173 and 071. This is at 2102 West 34th Place. Who's here to present this one?
This is Paul Began from Began Architectural Design. I believe also we have the owner for this, Mr. Larry Apple.
Yes, I'm here also.
Great. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, hopefully this one will be an easy one for you. So this is a land bank lot and another lot, and there's actually another lot in here. So this is West 34th Place, which is one of the kind of alleys in Ohio City. Over the years, there have been buildings that have been built along that alley. On the picture in front of you there, it's a picture from West 34th all the way through the lot. There's actually 3 parcels there. So it's really combining two parcels, one that's 35 feet deep and another one that's 43 feet deep to get a single lot that's buildable, 78 feet deep. We are designed for this project. I don't know if we can go to the next slide just so you can see what's planned. Okay. We can go on there. So this is just a site plan. You can kind of see those are 2 lots there. We go on to the next one. We've been through HDRS, local block club, local design review, and have all the approvals for the eventual construction. This is really just the last piece to take these 2 little tiny postage stamp, even for Ohio City postage stamp size lots, to consolidate them to make it a single buildable lot. We can go on to the next one. We can go on to the next one from here too. You can see it's just a little infill lot on this small lot in Ohio City. You go to the next one. That would be it.
All right, commission members.
I move approval, Downing.
Second.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion and second. Further discussion? Michael, call the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
yes,
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
yes,
Paul,
yes,
Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. Paul, good luck.
Thank you very much for your time and your service. Have a good morning.
Okay, permanent parcel number 00708, 065, 066, and 168. This is on West 33rd Street. Who's here for this one?
I'm Dan Duraco, I'm here.
Hey, Dan, go ahead.
So I've been working with Matt Moss for a while for these properties in front. There are two land bank lots, 1A and 1C are land bank lots. I purchased the lot 1B. And so what we're trying to do is create an easement off of Kuiper Court, a drive easement on all three lots. And so we have rear access to these properties, but we're also, these were substandard lots to begin with, and they had houses on them. And they're going to be substandard again. We're just reconfiguring a little where I'm trying to grab a couple of feet off of each side of the land bank lots so that we each have comparable width lots. The land bank lots will be 30 foot wide. Mine will be 29.8 feet wide. So that's the lot consolidation there, where I'm just basically, carving out a little bit off each land bank lot, and then we'll put this easement on so we don't have to have any curb cuts when we do go to build on these lots. Also, that the county lot that shows the county lot over here, I do own that lot also, and these are in front of my townhouses and my brick double that I've built out over on West 34th Place. So that's what I'm asking for right now.
Thank you, Dan. Commission members?
Move to approve.
I'll second. Downing,
We have a motion and second. Further discussion? Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
yes,
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
yes,
Paul, Tommy, are you there?
Stammy, are you still there?
Yeah, I'll have to as abstain. Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next is mandatory referrals, ordinance number 228-2021. This is authorizing the Director of Economic Development to lease certain properties located on Opportunity Corridor Superblock 3B. This is one we've seen before, Norsum Development and Construction LLC. This was tabled the last time, so there could be a meeting. I understand there was a meeting, and it sounds like everyone's on the same page, so I would take a motion to remove from the table.
I make that motion. McCray Scott,
and I will second it. Downing,
We have a
Mr.
motion and
Chair.
second. Call the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
yes,
Fluker,
Mr. Chair, I must recuse myself.
Okay.
McCray Scott,
yes,
Paul, Slight.
Yes.
Okay, who's here for this and who's going to start it off?
Morning,
Is that David?
that's me.
All right, Dave Ebersol, go ahead, please.
All right, great. So I won't go over in a lot of detail since we've already discussed it. But the thought here is to work with the Proposed Construction Opportunity Institute of Cleveland to lease them property with an option to purchase. to undertake remediation and site preparation and eventually position the site for the development, which you're looking at here, for the proposed Construction Opportunity Institute of Cleveland. We've done some public meetings on this and have received some community support for the project. The project vision is really driven by Fred Perkins, who owns the land immediately to the north, that sort of odd triangle between the Opportunity Corridor and the site we're looking at here. The Construction Institute will provide a pathway into the construction trades for a residents and especially sort of the non-traditional trades communities, minority communities and women and folks who really have not been involved in the trades up until recently. So we think it's an exciting project. We think it fits from a workforce development standpoint. And then with that, I will turn it over to Director Collier, who can put it a little bit more in sort of the context of the overall Opportunity Corridor plan.
Yes, thank
Go ahead,
you.
Director.
Thank you, David. And Maurice, if you allow me to share my screen, please.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay. One of the things that we have been doing with Opportunity Corridor for a number of years is really building on a series of planning initiatives that we've been working on for quite some time. The latest of that is the 79th Street Corridor Study, which really addresses this north-south connection with respect to the Opportunity Corridor, namely the area that we coined the core job zone. We had received a EPA Brownfields grant for some time ago through a planning study that really looked at how we can actually identify parcels and get those parcels ready for development. The city, as you know, was very aggressive in its position to ensure that streets leading into the neighborhood were not cul-de-sac, but actually creating linkages and focusing reinvestment along those north-south connections. This includes 79th Street. This includes East 105th, East 93rd Street. Both initiatives are a key focus for the administration, and we've received investment dollars from NOACA and other entities for 105-93, and also investment along 79th, capitalizing on 2 rapid transit stations. RTA has invested in 1. These stations were subject to closure during that time. In addition, an allocation from the state of Ohio for $10 million, I believe, is the figure for remediating land. The reason why I lay that context out is because it was the city who really partnered to make this a true economic development project rather than just a road project. Having said that, when you look at the corridor itself, many of these areas were planned out with respect to where buildings should sit, how infrastructure could be organized. There are 3 committees established around this idea. We wanted to ensure that Opportunity Corridor provided high-tech, low-tech, and no-tech opportunities. And I'll talk about what each one of those mean. For the last several years, the Economic Development Department, along with BBC and other partners, the fund and others, began to acquire parcels in this geography. The city has much of the parcels under their control. David, if you had to give a percentage, what would that percentage be generically?
85.
So about 85% of the parcels that flank the corridor are more than likely controlled by the city at this point. This area here in particular, which is the Opportunity Corridor core job zone, was a key focus because this is where really you have the greatest opportunity to connect to the neighborhood of Kinsman, which really has been underutilized, and opportunities for jobs have not been leveraged here. So one of the things that we begin to do is look at where certain uses would make sense. If you look at this map, it shows where we have sort of the high tech, which is the biomedical manufacturing type of activities that we envision. The red shows where the warehouse distribution and industry areas are. And then the green represents the agricultural food processing industry. I know there has been a lot of dialogue about the prospects of a food hub. That is not a foreign prospect to us, and it's something that we support, but we support it in very specific locations as identified on this map. Also, if you notice in this area in the middle, some of these parcels are not colored because we wanted to ensure that we are flexible. Because when you look at 79th Street, when you look at areas of East 105th, those are the community's corridors. Remember, this corridor, Opportunity Corridor, had cul-de-sacs at one point. And we ensured that reinvestment take place along those corridors. And if reinvestment was going to occur along those corridors, it needs to be community beneficial, community enhancing investments, hence the Construction Opportunity Institute. Just to give you some more context, with respect to the target zones, these are the types of building footprints and site layouts that we envision. This is the New Economy neighborhood in Innovation Square. When you look at the core job zone, you can look at sort of these larger parcels in the red, where we have industry, green jobs potentially, and also other types of large scale development. I do want to reiterate this with respect to the police headquarters. One of the key things that the Economic Development Department was running into with respect to its pursuit of trying to get companies to locate was the old perception of what this neighborhood used to be, and that being unsafe. A large reason why the police headquarters was cited here was because not only it was centrally located in the center of the city. If you look at a map, this is dead center. The other reason was because it actually started to curb that perception of the lack of safety. So that is part why that decision was made, amongst other reasons. Now, the other component of this, which was the subject of last Planning Commission's dialogue, was this notion of a food hub and distribution center. The Opportunity Corridor and the landscape that flank it can host a number of different initiatives. Food distribution has been one of those things. These are the areas in which we envision that. Orlando Baking Company, of course, which is already existing, who has plans to expand, who also has a retail opportunity that they're moving forward. This area here, potential for alternative uses around culinary and other types of activities. And also the Red All Green Partnership, which is a successful, very successful minority business venture that focuses on food growth and distribution. This farm to table concept can be real. There's a lot of vacant land here, and these are the areas that we envision. Now, when we talk about this East 79th Street corridor, density was a big part of why we wanted to really focus in on transit-oriented development and creating density that would increase ridership. These are the two stations that exist there. The Red Line station is one that just received about $11 or so million of investment from RTA. They're going to be looking at reinvestment in the actual Blue Green Line station as well. And when you think about those stations, the conditions of those stations warranted reinvestment. RTA was at, again, one point considering closing these because of the lack of ridership. And one of the reasons for the lack of ridership was the lack of investment. So when we did this study, the goal was really to get confidence in making the RTA look differently at the stations. And they've been a great partner with working to reinvest in the community. From a TOD standpoint, we work with city architecture on this scoring category here that really start to look at what the existing conditions were from a TOD perspective, which anything less than a score 55 was obviously a failure. This scored a 20 in its current state at the time that this study was done. You can see here how connected this area is to rapid transit. The rapid transit is critical because these lines can get you to downtown, which is our central business district, out to an Amazon fulfillment center, to Shaker Square, and a number of community assets. Had these stations closed, individuals in this community would have been cut off from that. Now, from a building footprint standpoint, I want to show you how the Construction Institute, and I'm going to repeat, Construction Institute, which is designed to help to create workforce. You cannot have job creation without workforce development. And the location of this is key because it's on a neighborhood corridor. And when you look at the building footprints, it fits almost directly with respect to what was envisioned. So let me go back here. Give me one moment. So what we're going to do is walk you down the actual corridor itself so you can understand exactly from a three-dimensional standpoint the vision for this 79th Street stretch. This is at Woodland and East 79th Street, and we're going to be going south. So to your right, you see the new community apartments. To your right, also, this is the actual new station that's there. And again, these are massing plans. So they are rooted in some reality, but they're concepts. But these things are what's guiding some of the decision making here. This is the area that we call sort of that culinary district with respect to food processing, food distribution. If you go further south along Opportunity Corridor, you come into the intersection at Opportunity Corridor and East 79th. This building here is literally where the Construction Institute sits. And this is sort of the built form that we envision it would take. And when you see the renderings for the Construction Institute, they're very much similar to the general built form. And if you go down 79th Street, one of the things that you'll see is buildings being built up to the street. We just had the freezer facility rezoning, which is also related to supporting our food industries and creating jobs. And they had a parking lot on this site here where you see this mixed-use building, which we were able to zone it in a way that did not allow for that to occur so that BBC and others could develop this property along 79th, thus keeping in concert with the vision. This is the more ambitious station, the blue green line station to the south with an enhanced park. And as we move sort of around, we're looking northwest and we're coming down 79th Street to the south into the actual sort of Kinsman neighborhood. Now notice the density along 79th Street, which is the ultimate goal. BBC is working along Colfax to do infill housing development. And if you look here west, this building here that's shown at the corner is currently a vacant lot, which BBC is pursuing for a mixed use or higher density senior development. The building that you see here in white exists. That was built a few years ago by CMHA. The CMHA headquarters is located along Kinsman North. And then as we pan around here, we see the orange boxes there, which represent the box spot. That's a retail establishment that's really designed to create retail space for up and coming retailers in this neighborhood. Burdenville Car led this entire effort. And then as you look west down Kinsman and go back into the intersection, one of the things that you will begin to see is a reimagined sort of intersection at Kinsman and East 79th Street with the mixed-use building with new investment along the Kinsman corridor. The city is going to be reinvesting in the actual Kinsman corridor with street improvements. So this is sort of the big focus and vision of the East 79th Street initiative. The last couple of slides that I would like to show you really begin to look at the site of where you see the Construction Opportunity Institute, which is literally right here. The building is set to the street on 79th Street so that it's walkable. If you notice, the actual street pattern has not changed much. We worked with what the environment had given us, and that is in part how the Institute was cited. Let me zoom in a little bit more so that you can see here is where the actual Construction Opportunity Institute would sit. And you see the parking to the rear. Now, again, these are massing and concepts, but you'll see very clearly as we move forward here. I do want to call out with this entire vision, we wanted to focus on social, physical, and programmatic opportunities. And when we think about the types of activities, as you can see here from a programmatic standpoint, you know, and social standpoint, we wanted to create situations where we increase transit usage, which this investment would do. Also wanting to make sure that we created an environment that promoted walkability, which is a hallmark of the Planning Commission itself. And after this investment, the score for transit-oriented development will increase to 55 points over 20, thus making it true transit-oriented development. Now, this is the site, of course, and when you look at the context of 79th Street, this is the proposed training facility for the Construction Opportunity Institute. And you can see it sits right here on 79th Street, just like we envisioned. I do want to reiterate, the definition of this facility as an asphalt plant is an inaccurate labeling of this facility. This is about training young people, getting individuals workforce ready in a sector that sorely needs it. So that is in part why you see the building situated like this. You can see where it sits on the actual streetscape along 79th and how it fronts. It is a mid-rise sort of building. This was the vision that you saw. This is the Construction Opportunity Institute here. So I lay this out to you so that you can understand that Opportunity Corridor is not some shot in the dark. The transactions that are being made with respect to many of them are very intentional, and we're trying to stay in line with the plan. We all know that when you have a vision, when you have proposals that come to you, you have to try to figure out how they fit within that vision. Some things you may not anticipate, others you may, and that's the nature of planning. But with this particular investment, we feel strongly that we're fulfilling the vision that we had for this. And in this core job zone, it's about job creation. When you look at it from a physical development standpoint, the structure fits into what we envision. When you look at the potential for job production here as students cycle through here, it readies them for an industry that sorely needs a boost with respect to the construction trades. So I do also want to say, David, you can articulate this better than I. This is a lease scenario. We all know that this is a ambitious endeavor, but anything that's worth doing is typically ambitious, and it will take a number of individuals coming together, which a very good team of individuals who are committed to this have come together in order to make this happen. So lastly, when you have an administration who supports something, a council person who supports something, a development corporation who supports something, that typically leads to an approval by the Planning Commission. So I'm going to close my piece there and turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Dave, did you want anything to add?
No, I think Mr. Perkins is on the line, and I just ask him to be just very briefly outline why this is important to him and why he's doing it.
Fred, go ahead.
Yes. First of all, it makes me feel good to know that our city is in such competent hands, and I mean that, David, and just listening to Mr. Collier lay that all out. I wish he could come and work with me. I appreciate that. And
Freddie can't hire him right now.
Chairman Bourne, you do a fine job running this thing, this planning commission. I never had an opportunity to come before a group like this, but it's too bad that most of the residents and stakeholders in this community don't have an opportunity to get this deeply involved in how the city works. Okay, so there's not a lot for me to say anymore in terms of what we're attempting to do. I think it's been laid out extremely well. I will say this, that Norm Edwards, who is on the phone with me, who is the person who is partnering this with me, is the heart and soul of this. This is what he has decided to do with his career going forward, to give back to the young people of our great city. We're excited about this project. We're enthusiastic. Me personally, as I told you guys before, I moved on Rawlings Avenue in 1947, and my family, we moved there, and I remained there as a student. Went to Rawlings Junior High School, John Hay. I came back from college to actually teach at Rawlings Junior High School, and I am so happy that the Lord has afforded me an opportunity to give back in this manner. I could say a lot, and I get accused of talking too much because that's part of my training, and so I'm not going to do that today. I am quite really filled up after hearing the presentation that preceded me. So I hope you all will see fit to honor us with your approval. But before I turn it back over, Norm, is there anything you would like to say? Eugene, did we lose Norm?
Norm, are you there?
We did.
Okay.
We did.
We may have lost him, but that's all I have to say.
So Fred, I just like.
Oh, that's Norm. There's Norm.
Oh, hey Norm.
Okay, yeah, I had it on mute. Good morning, Planning Commission. We look forward to bettering the Black forgotten community. And when I say forgotten, I'm talking about in the construction industry. We have been shut out for so long, and we look forward to continuing with our pre-apprenticeship and teaching the young men and women and pointing them in the right direction and giving them life-changing skills to better themselves. That's what this is about, the opportunity, an opportunity corridor for young men and women to better themselves. We're working with I work with Cleveland Builds. I work with the Construction Employers Association, Timlinville, and I work with Dave Wondolowski with the Cleveland Building Trades. So we are not a union. We prep the young men and women that don't want to be in the unions to do home remodeling or pour driveways. And we also prepare them, teach them construction etiquette and prepare them so when they go into, if they decide to go into the unions, which we have a pipeline now, they are prepared. So they don't go there. They don't make themselves look stupid. We build up a great relationship with all of the different 28 building trades. And we want to give them something to make them feel good and proud of themselves. It's all about taking it to the next level. And with this school, that's what we plan on doing. So I appreciate your time. And Freddie Collier did an excellent job. I appreciate him. I appreciate the mayor, city of Cleveland. And we look forward to moving on. And 4 years in the making, myself and Fred and I have been working on this project. And we think that that prime location, we have a great relationship with the people in Garden Valley and the entire neighborhood there. They could walk to the training center. King Kennedy is not far away. We have RTA that's there with the rapid line, and the bus line will be in front of the building. So we are very, very excited. We think that the architects, Eugene, they have put together a beautiful, beautiful building, and we and the community look forward to moving forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Norm. And thank you, Fred. Your time and investment in this is really, really important. When I go out to job sites now, most of the people are my age. We definitely need a farm league for people to come up into the trades and start building the new Cleveland. So I appreciate all your time. Commission members, it's up to you.
Director Collier, could you speak a little bit about the meeting that was requested by the commission when this piece was tabled 2 weeks ago, and just a summary of that?
Yes, so we had a meeting. Actually, the meeting was scheduled before any request was made by the commission around a concept that was in the works around a food hub. Mr. Whitehead, the Fund for Our Economic Future, and others were looking to do this food hub in the footprint of the core job zone. In that dialogue, we laid out what the plan was, and that there was some congruence with respect to the notion of food distribution, farm to table type of activities. One of the things that we laid out was where we envision the food distribution concept. We showed the northwest corner of Opportunity Corridor. We also showed where the Orlando site was, building off of that. We also drilled down on the Ridolph Green Partnership, which again is a successful minority-ran organization that, as a result of some city land provided, turned that into an amazing operation, probably one of the best farm operations in the city of Cleveland. And we also got into the conversation about location, why here? We laid out the fact that it's 79th Street, which really was cut off in the original iteration of the Opportunity Corridor. We also outlined the fact that it's important that the people of the community can actually access it and get to it, and the youth of the community can actually access it and get to it. Hence the two rapid facilities that flank this site. The other piece that was discussed, there was some dialogue around, why not other locations along the corridor. I think what ultimately happened was the county was also at that meeting, and others, was there was a lot of thinking about possibility with respect to site. And I think that everyone was in agreement that this is the right type of use. I think the push and pull was always around location, and the unfortunate leading of this sort of asphalt plant theme. People have to be very careful with words because words matter. And what's happening right now, and what happened in the meeting, is that there was a clarity provided of what this was and what this isn't. Now, there are still some who may believe that there's other locations for this, but the city's posture, the administration's posture, is that this is the best possible location. And it does not negate at all the notion of having food distribution in a food hub. There's going to need to be some ongoing work and some thinking about what that looks like. And we're going to continue to work with that food hub group. There's some very smart people that's a part of that. And we know that food was a very big part of the conversations around Opportunity Corridor for a long time. So ultimately, obviously, there's no vote taken because there's no authority that rests with that group. However, we do know that those partners there are going to be important in helping to advance the future of Opportunity Corridor. And we know that food is going to be a very key component of that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, could I speak, David?
Sure, go ahead.
This is Councilman Slife. So, I won't be supportive of this legislation if it comes before council. And for that reason, I'm not going to be supportive of it within my role on the Planning Commission. And I know I'm the bad guy in this one and I'm beating a dead horse, but I want to outline my positions just so it's emphatically clear. The director referenced, this is the core job zone. That's an economic development play. A school is a workforce development play. And while the two are related, I don't believe that they're the same. And though a school could bring value to our community, I believe it conflicts with the economic development goal of this entire Opportunity Corridor initiative. Economic development is about growing the economy. It shouldn't be confused with, broad new development. And while I'm appreciative of RTA's investment in the Red Line station, to me, it's a sunk cost. RTA's already invested in the rail station. It's done. And we shouldn't feel compelled to approve projects that don't align with our economic development goals simply because we feel some pressure to deliver ridership in the near term. If we hold the line, prioritize job creation, we can increase ridership and create jobs, and that offer competitive pay and benefits in a very low income neighborhood. I attended the stakeholder meeting on August 13th, and I would disagree with the director's analysis of it. To me, multiple stakeholders proposed and were interested in studying relocating this institute to the development site that's directly across the railroad tracks from the Juvenile Justice Center. The site that's on the table right now is arguably the most easily marketable and developable site within the corridor, especially if you start talking about vacating roads, relocating utilities, and building a broader site. On the contrary, this proposed site across the railroad track from the Juvenile Justice Center is not marketable for private sector job creation. And while this concept of a construction institute makes sense, I believe it's premature for me to support any legislation to sell city land when we just don't know more details about the institute. Is it accredited? What would its enrollment be? What educational opportunities is it bringing to the table that don't exist at current training institutes or at Tri-C? Selling city-owned land is a responsibility that we have, and I think it's emphatically true that when we talk about the only large-scale developable land in the city of Cleveland that can compete with ex-urban development sites, that we need to be strategic. So while this may have been in the work on the administration side for 4 years, I'll just say that City Council is a co-equal branch of government, and that me, as one of 17, I will exercise my authority within the charter. So that's my position, and I hope that's helpful for my colleagues on the Planning Commission.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Freddie.
All right, so a couple of points. One, with respect to the vision for Opportunity Corridor and its importance, the planning work has not been one-sided on Opportunity Corridor by no stretch of the imagination. With respect to the existing council that exists, some of which were not even here, as this years of planning and engagement with the community has taken place over a long period of time, and the fight that the administration had to have to make sure that this was actually an economic development project, when you look at the pattern of this road, which is really unnatural in a grid pattern. So when we look at the Opportunity Corridor and we look at the need in order to make it something viable for the people around it, you talk about strategic. The strategic play was getting money to remediate land when that wasn't even on the table many years ago. The strategic play was ensuring that there wasn't cul-de-sacs cutting off the southeast side of the city or the immediate neighborhood flanking the corridor. Those were all strategic plays. And as far as the dialogue is concerned and partnerships around the vision, former Councilwoman Phyllis Cleveland was at the table. The community was at the table. I have documentation of the many community meetings. The bicycle infrastructure, all of these key things that it took to turn this into an opportunity. And with respect to this whole notion of food distribution, food hub, that's not off the table. And I do want to be clear with my characterization of that meeting. Everything that I said was accurate and true. I did not mention the 2 sites or 3 sites that came up during the conversation. What I did mention, though, is the context of that meeting and what took place, what was articulated from our end. And like I said, there was no vote or anything because there's no vote in that space. With respect to the food hub again, because I do want to be clear about this, it was also mentioned at the meeting opportunities that were suggested even by us with respect to building off of the Ridall Green partnership, where you have tons and scores of vacant land. And it just amazes me the level of pushback and analysis. When we talk about the food hub, that is a concept as well. That's going to take somebody putting a lot of energy in to make happen. Is it something that people are probably committed to? Absolutely. This construction institute is also something that there's a commitment to. Which outweighs the other? Who makes that determination? So let me say this in closing. With respect to job creation, and this is 100% real, you can say we want to create jobs, but if you don't have a workforce and you don't have people ready to be able to get those jobs, and quite frankly, those jobs should be for the people in that immediate community. And this is no slight against anybody who's looking to do the food hub concept. It's not about that. And it shouldn't be a slight against anybody who's looking to educate and create opportunity for minority youth to step into a sector that's beneficial. That is what I take issue with. I'm never and was never in favor of any type of asphalt facility or anything of that sort. But when you talk about the use that's being proposed now, that is really a human capital investment. And trust me, Mr. Slife, I know because I've been involved in the planning for this corridor and strategy around it for some time. And I've seen all types of different interests that wasn't necessarily community centered. So I'm going to say that I appreciate your articulation of your position and respect your posture. But I just think on this one, particularly with respect to what this could be, I think it's fitting for the corridor. And I think that the food distribution concept is also fitting. But it comes down to the sort of where. And I think that dialogue has to be settled here.
You know, and I gotta just say that I was around during the time that this was originally being planned. And basically it was planned as a freeway to get to University Circle. It was not a connection to the neighborhood. And there was a lot of work that went into making this a true opportunity corridor. I can also tell you from my standpoint in the trades and working with the trades, if we don't have a farm league coming up soon, we're not going to have anyone to build anything. I have to take off my sport coat more times than not and take out my own tools to finish things up. So this is really important to the city, in my opinion. I think what Opportunity Corridor turned into, and I was driving by it today because I was on my way to the east side. So this morning, when I was going to job sites, I went by it. And what is in front of us today is vastly different than what was proposed to us years ago. And I got to say, I'm very proud of what staff has done to make that happen. So I would take a motion. I'm hoping we would approve something like this because I think it's important to our city.
I move approval, Downing.
I second. McCray Scott.
We have a motion and second. Further discussion. Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker, August, are you there?
Did
I
he say he
recused.
had
I
abstained or recused?
Recused. McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Slight,
No.
Okay, motion carries. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you very much.
thank you all.
Everyone take a look at the administrative approvals, please. And I'll take a motion when you're ready.
I move approval, Downing.
Second, Fluker.
We have a motion and second. Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Slight,
Yes.
Motion carries. Far West Design Review. This is on Lorraine Avenue, the Carnegie Library Edition. Seeking final approval. This is at 8216 Lorraine. Who's here for this one, please?
I'm here, Jennifer Dort with HBM Architects.
I can barely hear you.
Jennifer Dort with HBM Architects.
Okay, Jennifer, I'm going to have to swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
I'm also here with Kevin Kennedy, who is a principal with HBM Architects, and Kathleen Sonhotter with Cleveland Public Library as well. Basically,
We're going to have to swear them in too if they're going to speak. Are you on the phone?
Yep, we're here. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. All right. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Great. Thanks. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Cleveland Public Library, Lorraine branch, this is part of the Cleveland Public Library master plan that was developed a few years back. For this particular branch, we are proposing a renovation and building addition. Just a little bit of background on the building itself. The original library, which is the Carnegie Library, built in 1912. Here you can see on the first slide is the historic entrance off of Lorraine Road. This, unfortunately, in the 1960s, when they came through with Route 90, faces right in front of this building, cutting it from the rest of the neighborhood. So with our proposed addition, which is on the north side of this building, you can see where we are adding additional square footage within an addition, as well as adding a new stair, ramp, and entry plaza. As you can see on this slide, on the back side of the building, right around where we have the historic kind of beige brick that faced Lorraine wrapping around. And then we transition to this kind of more red brick that's on the north side. Here we are adding a new addition, which is a multi-purpose space, giving the library additional needed square footage within this branch. And what used to be here was a ramp and stair entry that we are now removing, and we are building this more open plaza that incorporates the stairs, a ramp, as well as kind of seating that opens to that West 83rd side, and as well as the neighborhood adjacent to this branch. If you go to the next slide, you can see within the site plan itself how it is oriented. The south end is where Lorraine Avenue is located, and then West 83rd that runs north and south just to the west of this branch. Here we are also proposing to add a fair amount of landscaping around this building, just kind of softening it up as well as making it more inviting and shaded for the occupants within this site. We're incorporating lighting along the steps within that concrete plaza. And we are showing kind of diagrammatically, well, we are showing the trees that are proposed around this building and site as well. Just along the Lorraine side, kind of cleaning it up and getting that front entry of Lorraine, kind of that, grand entry, highlighting the existing architecture of that. And then along West 83rd, getting some shade trees, both along the building in front of some of the existing windows, as well as along that plaza. So it is kind of protected from any kind of heated sun and protection within that, just making it more inviting and comfortable. And then along the north end, we also have a proposed storytime tree, which is a larger oak tree, kind of a gathering space for those patrons. And then moving forward to a community garden, which is actually already existing there, but we are kind of relocating it slightly and giving it sort of a new location, working better within the site, and as well as a greenhouse that kind of creates that end to that community garden for storage and additional plantings year round. So I believe that is the final slide of this presentation. I don't know if there's anything additional that Kath or Kevin would like to add, or if there's any questions that we could help answer.
Commission members?
David, I'm going to abstain from this vote. Downing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else has questions? Motions?
I move to approve project as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. Further discussion? Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul, Tommy, are you there? Slide.
Yes.
Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Near West Design Review, Metro Health, Apex, new construction. Who's here for this one?
Brad Fink, architect with Prospectus Architecture, representing the Turner Prospectus CBLH design build team, and here with Robin Holmes from Metro Health.
Okay, great. If you could both raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. The Metro Health Apex project is the next piece of the Metro Health campus transformation. As everyone's aware, the new inpatient tower, the Glick Center, is under construction now, and we're submitting for schematic design approval for a new outpatient and administrative building that will be located to the south of the Glick Center. That's being referred to as the Apex project. It's about 312,000 square feet over 6 floors, oriented along Scranton Avenue, consisting of cancer care services, breast center, primary care, and specialty care services. Next sheet, please. You can see in the site plan, the intent of this building is to connect directly to the inpatient tower, both internally on the first floor, also to the third floor, as there are some inpatients that will be using some of the cancer care services within the building. And then there's an extension of the drop-off drive that is being constructed as a part of the Glick Center to provide both entrances to the Glick Center and to the new Apex project off of Scranton Road. Next. Oh, and what I should add here is we're seeking schematic design approval for the building, for the outpatient administrative building only. There's a garage, visitor garage that's sited to the east of the building that will be submitted separately as a part of another review. You can flip through these. Yes?
I said thank you.
Okay. I won't dwell on the floor plans. We can flip through these. Elevations, you can see at the bottom is a primary elevation showing the largely glass first floor concourse connecting to the Glick Center, a curtain wall extending up the center of the building where the elevator lobbies occur, and then larger windows corresponding to waiting rooms along that Scranton elevation, and the 30-inch wide windows corresponding to the administrative office spaces and the clinical exam room spaces. The intent here is that, as everyone may be aware, there's a future plan to, as buildings are replaced for park space along Scranton Road and West 25th, that the primary waiting spaces are oriented back towards the neighborhood and to the park space. Next. And these are the schematic views of that building. At the lower left, you'll see you see Scranton and the drop-off zone for the two new buildings, both Glick and Apex. At the lower right, street level view from the intersection of Scranton Road and View Road. And really the intent here is that at that intersection, we're siting the building to be to create that urban edge, but also allow for the view of Glick Center, which extends out to the face of Scranton. So providing sort of a clear wayfinding and entryway for both folks coming from either by walking, by dropping off, by buses. And then the view that you see on the top right is looking from that future park between Scranton and West 25th, looking past the Glick Center towards the new Apex building. And with that, if there's any other questions or comments on any of the other details, we've also included some conceptual sections, site plans and stormwater. I'll open now for questions.
Commission members?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is just a general comment concerning presentations in general. Since this is part of a master plan, it would be nice to see how this is situated in the greater context. To remind us about what's trying to be achieved and how this fits in. So, thank you.
Great comment, August.
I move approval. Downing. This is really transforming a neighborhood. Thank you for your presentation.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Pause.
I think August is right. If, each time you present, it would be great just to kind of remind us how this fits within the rest of the architecture and the rest of the context of the
Mr. Chairman.
site.
Given the scale of the project too. Matt Moss from staff is looking to speak.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, before you make a motion, I just wanted to inform you and the commission of the motion from the design review committee and the comments from the local design review committee.
Okay,
it's
because we
helpful.
didn't have one in our packet.
Yeah, the Near West committee originally met last Wednesday, but because of the scale of this project and how it fits into an ongoing planning effort with the city of Cleveland, we had a meeting yesterday evening, a longer meeting just to review this particular case. So the committee made a motion to recommend approval with the following conditions: that the team further study the circulation with respect to that that drop-off zone that you see shown on the screen now, and to consider reducing that drop-off zone from 3 lanes to 2 lanes, or just to 2 lanes at the entrance, and providing a 3rd lane that's with bump outs to facilitate circulation, but also make it a safer and more pedestrian-oriented space. Further detail the paving materials in that space and how they delineate where the pedestrian space is, the vehicular space, and where space is shared. And to further study, identify crosswalks and crossing locations at Scranton to connect to the park and to West 25th in conjunction with RTA's plan to install a bus rapid transit line on that street. So those are the 3 conditions that the committee recommended in terms of schematic approval.
Great comments, Matt. You know, the one thing I noticed, and I've gone to the A building quite a bit, where they have valet and drop off at the Cleveland Clinic, and you know, at certain times that can be kind of daunting. So taking a look at it from not just the engineering standpoint, but from the pedestrian standpoint, is a great comment. So,
And if I may add too, just to Matt's point, the future plan here really calls for a very large open space project in the center here. And just making sure that where there's pedestrian crossings, that those markings are really done well and that they're highlighted. You know, oftentimes when we see large scale projects, and this is great, don't get me wrong, we sometimes can get seduced by the project and miss the little quality of life things that are going to matter. So I just want to emphasize just those small things. And the architect knows this already, and there's been dialogue around this. So this is not to be disruptive. It's just we got to remember those little things, you know, the things that people in the neighborhood coming into the trauma center are going to experience every day. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would like to follow up on Mr. Collier's important points. I've had the opportunity over the last month or so to sort of tour around the city because I have a little more flexibility now. And what I found in many cases around this city, downtown, Cleveland Clinic, where there's a large green spaces designed, they're not used. And it speaks to, you know, if you create it, they will come. However, I think there needs to be some consideration given to programming what happens, because quite frankly, it just becomes a big lawn that presents your facility and campus, but it doesn't do anything for the community or the pedestrians that utilize it, other than just becoming a means of getting to front door. So I just wanted to add that. Thanks, Freddie.
yeah, August, I think you're right about the programming. There's a space at the clinic that's a big lawn, but they use it as a farmer's market. And, you know, I think that kind of activates space that kind of has multiple uses that is a betterment to people. So I think you're right. If you look at the program, and I think that's more of Metro Health looking at how they program the space to make it welcoming to the neighbors and themselves. So good comments.
David,
All right.
I think I might want to.
I'll add the design review comments to my motion for approval.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, can I have that as seconded too?
Another thing I would like to add to is this space and how it connects to the facility and buildings needs to really be studied. Can't keep saying we're going to get to it because it's part of urban design. And I think it's going to be an afterthought, unfortunately, in my opinion. So just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Suzette.
It's Robin Holmes. I would like to speak on behalf of Metro Health. We are currently working on that green space. However, Metro Health is tabling the discussion until it's presented to the stakeholders next month. So I do want to let you know that we are working on and are part of an eco district.
That's true. Yes, that's true.
So I just want to let you know that we are planning that. We're just not ready to roll it out until next month.
That's true.
Yeah. Thanks, Robin. Nice seeing you, by the way.
Good to see you too, David.
Okay, I'll call the question. Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul, Blythe.
Yes.
Thank you. Good luck. Looking forward to seeing the rest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lincoln Heights Townhomes, new construction. Who's here for this?
Larissa Burley, project architect and designer for Bioloski Cleveland. And I'm here.
Listen, nice
Nice to see you
anyone
too.
else with you?
Yes, Naomi Sable, one of the owners of Sustainable Community Associates.
Hi, David.
Hi, Naomi. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, I have to have both of you raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Go ahead, please.
So the first slide is really just a cover page, but it shows a little bit of the lay of the land of the West 17th townhomes that we're discussing. You can see it's directly west of Scranton, and the city of Cleveland is directly north, and the Fairmont Creamery directly west. So on the next slide, it'll show you actually a series of projects that I've worked with Sustainable Community Associates with in the past. So we've been thinking about this space as a bit of a campus rather than one particular site. So it started with the Fairmont Creamery to the north, then followed by the Wagner Awning Building to the south, the Tappan Building directly across the street. We are now working on the Lincoln Building, which is its fourth story, currently under construction. And so what we are discussing today is the West 17th Townhomes, which is just above the Lincoln Building next to the Fairmont Creamery. So the next slide will just give you a sense of some of those projects that we've already completed in this area with these owners and are looking to continue. So the next slide, again, just reorients us to our site, which we've discussed a bit before. It was originally thought of that it would be a parking lot. And the owners actually wanted to activate this space with something a little more inventive than a parking lot. You'll see in the next slide, from the pedestrian level, what it's currently like in that area. There's a sloped drive along the Fairmont Creamery, and there are a series of residential homes directly to the right. So the next slide will show you that. The next slide after that will show you, again, more residential context. We are on the threshold of an industrial and a very residential neighborhood, and we want to be respective and also contextual of that residential neighborhood. So the next slide will show you a little bit zoomed into the site. This is where it was originally thought of to be a parking lot, but the owners are actually looking to better not just the site, but also West 17th Street and Paraffin Avenue, which is running east-west directly north of the site. So the next slide will show you the condition of those roads as they currently are, which are a little beaten up. They don't have sidewalks. There isn't really friendly walking or plantable space. So that next slide will show hopefully those images. And the next slide will show you the proposed site plan. We originally looked at the site as a series of townhomes that would line West 17th Street and have kind of private backyards to the east. And Naomi and her team actually thought we could be a little more creative and provide some outdoor green space to the folks in the neighborhood. And so what we're doing is turning a series of townhomes inward and providing a pocket park that the townhomes would be facing. And so this would be, a semi-public, semi-private space, certainly open to the public, but it would provide excellent views for the townhome units as well. This plan also shows how we would add additional sidewalks to the east side of West 17th Street and additional parking. And the parking would extend all the way down Paraffin Avenue out to Scranton. The next slide shows a case study of the concept that we have for this pocket park. Now we want to make this completely accessible. So the image to the upper right-hand corner shows a step down to a seating area with benches and plantings. What we're actually looking to do is make it completely at grade so it's fully accessible to West 17th Street, but we're looking to raise the townhomes up somewhere between 20 and 24 inches, so around 2 feet, so that it would create a terraced effect and provide some private benched garden areas in that zone. And one of the areas that we really want to concentrate on, just so everyone is aware, is right now, this is a very diagrammed sketch of what that park would look like. What we are working on now is in the office is how to ensure that the public green space is prioritized and the patio spaces that lead up into the townhome units kind of take a secondary role. The next slide will show you the rough dimensions of these units. So we're considering 20-foot by 40-foot units, and we are following all of our setback requirements with some additional space, assuming that we will need areas behind the townhomes for things such as mechanical units. The next slide will show you a general layout of what these townhomes will be. So each townhome could essentially have 2 separate tenants. The first floor of each townhome would be an entire unit. So you would walk into a living room with full kitchen, bathroom, bedroom. And then a second tenant could live upstairs with an alternate entry directly to the right, you'll see, and they would go up a story to the exact same layout, but then the third floor would have an additional either 2 bedroom spaces or a bedroom plus bonus room with a walkout patio. The next slide shows you how we were conceptualizing the form for some of these units. A lot of the residential units in the area are A-frame, and we wanted to be contextual. But in a lot of our sketches, we really wanted to privilege the access that was coming off of West 17th Street. So I think the image on the lower left model shows how I kind of just folded one of the edges of the building to be able to kind of pivot and lean toward West 17th Street. So you'll see in the next image, kind of a digital clay model of a bird's eye view of that area. And we're thinking about these buildings much like a frame, and the covered balconies would be, well, more covered in the south facing units. And then on the units that face north, it would be getting, more ambient sun. They would be more open. And the final image, I believe, shows you the feeling that you would have from the pedestrian level. So this is taken at the base, showing the tiered landscaping and the front entry stoops and the plantings. And so if you can imagine that the building all the way in the back is the Fairmont Creamery, this would open up to the Fairmont Creamery. Now we're kind of expanding and contrasting some of these pocket areas. We want to make it really friendly to pedestrians, but we don't want to encourage, say, motorcyclists from trying to, make their way down a pedestrian area. So the narrowest pinch points that we are showing are about 4.5 feet, and then they open wider from that. But we thought a rough size of a sidewalk would be most appropriate. And with that, I will open it up to any questions.
So they say townhomes, are these fee simple or are these rentals?
They're rentals.
Okay. Commission members?
I would like
I have a question, McCray Scott. Um, I was a little confused about the first floor, the second floor, and the third floor. Is the third floor a part of the second floor
Yes.
unit?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that's one complete unit. So you're talking about a total of how many bedrooms if you combine the second and the third floor?
Right now, we're assuming that on the third floor, it's actually going to be a bonus room where we're showing a bedroom. So between the first floor and the second and third floor, it would be 3 bedrooms.
Okay, and so they would have to access the second floor through steps
Yes.
to get up to the second floor and the third floor?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to commend the applicant and the architect for coming up with a very refreshing and creative way to manage the green space. You've gone above and beyond, I believe, what the code requires, and this is in my opinion, a perfect example of what this townhouses could look like when they're oriented in this fashion. Thank you.
Yeah, August, I think exactly what we've been asking about is making a muse a real muse. So,
yeah, this is
very well done.
This is good.
Okay, so this is for schematic design approval.
Yes, and I just wanted to let you know that we have been to the Tremont West Corporation, which received a favorable opinion, the Northwest Design Review as well. Their 2 comments were, and we agree, are making sure that the green space, the public space, is privileged as much as possible, and being as pedestrian friendly as possible with reasonable pathways. So we agree with both of those comments, and we will continue the design following those recommendations.
Yeah, it also talks about considering using less concrete for storm water runoff and colorful plantings, and study the street side facades and elevations. But obviously you're in schematic design, so you're still studying anyhow.
We are, and we would like to come back to show final materials, of course. What we're currently discussing right now are a series of metal materials, woods, and masonry. So we look forward to bringing that back at a later time.
Mr. Chair, to the applicant, I guess maybe I missed something. I don't understand the context of the word privileged and how it was used. Could you expand on what that meant or what they mean by that? Or was that what you said?
Are you referring to the patios being a secondary focus to the green space?
I heard the word privileged used. I didn't understand the context.
Sure. I guess what I meant was the public pathway space, that we would ensure that that was as big as possible, so that that would be considered a primary space. And the private patios, we are actually going to try to make as narrow as possible in deference to enlarging the public space.
Okay, thank you. I move to approve as presented with comments made by a design review.
I'll second, but there's a comment in the chat that Khalid has a couple of questions or comments.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Commission and Chairman Bowen. So piggybacking on everything you guys said, this is a great project. We love the green aspects of this and pedestrian aspects and the creativity, as always, with Sustainable Community and Bioloski. I did need clarification on the site plan. What is the actual distance between the side yard between the existing house? Because this came up in front of the community as far as the distance between the existing house on the south side of this project and the back of these buildings?
Yes, great question, Khalid. So the distance from the south edge of the building to the south residence is 6'7" at the second and third floor. At the first floor, we're looking to inset the first floor at least a foot, and ideally, if we could, 2, so that it would be even further away from that south unit.
Right. Yeah, and I get it's a tight space, and definitely won't want to squeeze the pedestrian space there, but that's something that came up, and I think that's satisfactory. As far as process with schematic, it's our window. I thought it's conceptual at first because of the lack of windows and things of that nature. Is that going for review in the final? I guess I'm just not used to that being part of the schematic review.
Yeah, so they will come back for final approval, and they'll have to show us all the penetrations, how they're oriented, size, materials.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that you guys usually do a good job, but as far as other projects, it's usually great to see the windows and fenestrations in the schematic review versus usually the final is mostly cleaning up the landscaping and lighting and things of that nature. So
Yeah, it depends. We've seen them before like this, and they just have a lot more work before they come back for final.
Okay.
Commission members? We had a motion.
We had a motion, yes.
I'll call the question. Michael, call the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Blucher,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul. I think she's left the meeting. Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. Good luck. Looking forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, the next is Shiloh Temple House of God, new construction. This is at 1178 East 79th Street. Who's here for this?
Wanda Best and Andre Ballard and Corey Robinson.
So if you could all raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Skipping over the Brandon Road townhomes, is this a separate presentation or?
Here we are.
Okay, yeah, there we are. Andre or Corey?
Oh, yes, good morning. We're here, as you know, for the schematic approval. We're looking to expand our current sanctuary located, as you see, from 1178 East 79th Street. If you can go to the next slide, please. You go to the next. This is just a aerial view. We are looking to expand to our north and west. So that's towards St. Clair and to the west towards East 78th Street. As you can see, our current sanctuary building is located on the corner of Donald Avenue and East 79th. You can go to, we have a parking lot there on the other side of Donald. This just gives you just an overall view of the scale of the expansion. The yellow signifies our existing building, and the blue, purple, and orange signify the expansion. Next slide, please. Okay. What we are looking to, yeah, that's fine right there. Thank you. What we're looking to do, and I'll start from our existing building, and I'll move our way over to the expansion. Like I said, right now, what's to our left, to our south is our existing building, and the only thing we plan to modify with that is to expand our kitchen. Our current facility will serve as a multi-purpose building that will allow us to serve the community more, have more programs, whether it be back to school, food banks, and whatnot, and even with services that we have here that will help accommodate our needs for dining, weddings, so forth. As we go more north, we're looking to add a new sanctuary. We have a couple of classrooms, offices, and again, if you look there in the green area, those are, call them classrooms, but it's really not decided on yet, but we're looking to use that as more of a community area there for more programs for the community, so we can enlarge our rooms for more community initiatives. Of course, let's see what else here. We'll have, you can go to the next slide. You can go to the next slide, please. This is our balcony plan. And this will have, the sanctuary will be a 2-story or it's double height room. We'll have an elevator for the elderly of those who are need help with access to get up to the second floor, then also stairs as well. Go to the next slide. Again, this is more just a ground level phasing plan. At the time we were planning with all this in blue to be constructed immediately. And the purple and orange highlighted spaces are deemed as of right now the first and second phases that will be done at a later time. We're also considering just shelling out the entire thing in that yellow and orange space until we're ready to move on, just use that for storage or whatnot. But like I said, right now, the plan is just do all blue right away and then shell out the purple and orange. You can go to the next slide. And this is just a close-up of the sanctuary. You can go again. Next slide, please. Next slide. All right, here is a rendered front elevation. As you see here, we have what we try to do with the design, because we know this is a residential area, at least on the 79th Street. We believe that's all residential. And then on the 79th is residential and commercial. 78th is residential, 79th is commercial, residential. We try to keep all of our height and all of our glass facades and things like that on the 79th side. And on our 78th side, you have what we would call our executive wing or suites there that will be lower in height to accommodate and to blend in more with the residential homes there. So if you can see, we have our church name on the side there, a menorah there, which will be all illuminated during the night times. And again, you can see the penetrations, how the glass would look throughout the front facade of the building. Go to the next slide. Again, this is we looked at the front exterior. Down at the bottom, you see the west exterior, which is facing or on the 78th side, East 78th side. Again, you'll have a garage door there for our private parking. And again, we purposely intended to put all of our height on the 79th side. And here you can see that on the 78th side, our roof lines are much lower than that on the 79th side. Yeah, we go to the next slide. Again, these are our north and south elevations. Where that grayed out area is where our existing building is. And of course, on the other side is the north exterior. Go to the next. Okay, that is it. Now open for Lady Best if you want to say anything, or open it up to questions.
I just wanted to say hello to everyone and thank you for entertaining us or opening the floor to us. Present building, which you see to the left, is what we constructed in 2007. And we wanted to enlarge it because we've done several community programs. And part of the problem is we did not have enough space. We were doing mobile food bank and so forth. And so we had to have most of our things outside on the rear and then have the residents come in through the kitchen area and go out through the back. And then a lot of space we did not have for various programs. So we were kind of utilizing different spaces for sort of like different events there. And we wanted to make sure that we had ample space to be able to offer more services to the public, and also our congregation size has increased. So we wanted to build this new sanctuary and also offer more services to the community.
Thank you. Commission members.
Mr. Chair, are there any comments from design review that we should consider?
Yeah, there are some comments from design review. Materials around the window openings, mortar should match the split face. It's a very successful design. Consider different types of lighting for the large picture windows and show how the gutter system works. So this is for schematic design. They're coming back for, final design, which would have all that information.
I have just a general question. Are there any improvements or renovations planned for the existing building as a part of this effort?
Go ahead, lady. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. And what we're doing is our present sanctuary, we're going to turn into like a multi-purpose area so that way we can have more events, different programs that we have servicing now. That area would be able to hold them. And also our kitchen is a warming kitchen, and we're planning on turning that into a commercial kitchen. So therefore it'll allow us to offer more services also, even like a lunch program for the children in the summer, which we were doing was the bag lunch because we didn't have that facility for it.
I'm glad to hear that. I've done a lot of churches, and most times they turn their backs on the existing structures and build new, and then they have an issue with trying to collect a capital money to improve the existing structure. So I applaud that. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So do you want to make a motion?
Sure. I approve as presented with notations made by design review.
Second, Downing.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Further discussion. Michael, call the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Booker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Next is a proposed demolition of a two-story commercial building. This is under Codified Ordinance 341-08 at 10902 Superior Avenue. Who's here for this?
Yes, my name is Tony Lassiter. I own Lassiter Tax Service, and I am proposing
Tony?
a
Tony, can you raise your right hand? I have to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer under the penalty of perjury?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, there you are. Now I can see you. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Yes, my name is Anthony Lassiter. I own Lassiter Tax Service. I'm proposing to have a building removed at 10902 Superior Avenue in the rear.
Do we
I
have
don't have
some
any
other pictures of this?
slides. I'm sorry, you're breaking up and I don't have the slides.
Oh, okay. I can see them here. Okay, so it's the rear building we're looking at, correct? The one with the hole in the roof?
I'm sorry, I'm losing you. Are you there?
Yes, it appears to be the image with the hole in the roof. Is that correct, sir?
I'm only catching bits and pieces of what you're saying.
David,
Okay.
since it seems that way, are there additional slides we could go through? Because it looks like one of those that's going to be a bit obvious if there's more pictures.
Yeah, now there it goes.
There we go.
So it is the rear building.
Yes, it is. Hi, this is
It is a rear
Sharonda
building.
Watley.
Yeah.
Can you hear us now, Mr. Lassiter?
Bits and pieces of it coming in and
It's
out.
pretty obvious. There's no historic significance of the building. The building is wide open and falling apart. So I'm going to move approval, Downing.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight.
Yes.
Anthony, great job. You got it approved.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Euclid Corridor Design Review. This is Circle Square District Streetscape Reconstruction.
Yes.
And this is located Chester Stokes. Who's here for this?
Steve Rubin from Midwest Development Partners. Paul Volpe, our urban design consultant, is with us, as well as Cassandra Rice from Site Design Group.
Okay, so Steve, if your whole team can raise their right hand, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
We do.
Heard Paul in there.
Yeah,
Hi, David.
we snuck him in.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, so go ahead. Who's starting this one off?
This is Steve. I'm going to very quickly tell you that what we're going to show you today is for schematic approval, except for a couple of areas that relate to the Artisan Building, which is under construction, which we're going to ask for final approval. What you're going to see, and the reason that we're presenting it this way is obviously as we start the first few pieces, we want to make sure that we have some idea of continuity when we get to the other pieces of the streetscape, which I know you all have been waiting to see. The second thing I want to mention is that this is all virtually all in the public right of way, and we are working with the city and the state in connection with public-private partnership and how we finance this. And so that has not been completed. I want to be respectful of that process. I don't want to be guilty of promising a Cadillac and coming back with a Ford should we not achieve what we hope and expect to achieve. But I do think this is far enough along to present to you with an optimistic view that we will get to the end result that's needed. So with that caveat, just so that you know where we are, I'd like to turn this over to Paul, and Paul will present with Cassandra.
Thanks, Steve. Michael, would it be possible for me to take over the control? There's a lot of slides and I'm going to go through them quickly. Is it possible to let me screen share or turn the control over to me so I don't have to keep saying, flip, flip, flip? If not, we'll...
No, you're just going to have to say flip, flip, flip. Sorry.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Well, good morning, everybody. My responsibility is the urban design. You've seen me before on this. We've been coming to you for about 4.5 years with bits and pieces of this, and we've been involved with it for 6 years now, since the acquisition of the police station took place and the adjacent land. Just as a point of introduction, this is a big, unprecedented project for the city of Cleveland. I don't think there's anything like it that I'm aware of and have seen in the 40 years that I've been here. You know, 4.5 years seems like a long time, but that's nothing when it comes to the reality of what it takes to build cities, great cities. The city around us, around this site, took a century to build. And August talked about context. We have to fit this into the city, into the context, and yet let it be identifiable and memorable for what it is today. And these challenges take time. We have arrived at the place now where we can knit it into the city, utilizing the public realm as the connective tissue. And that's what you're going to see. It's streetscape, but it's so much more. So let's flip to the next slide, please. We have a lot of buildings. You've approved 2 of them, the public library lofts, actually 3 library lofts, and the artisan building, which is under construction. And there's a lot more to come. There's about $400 million plus of identified private investment in this. That's significant. And what's amazing about it, unlike a Sherwin-Williams, which is a single user, or the Key building, which is one building, this is 6 buildings. If you add in the one University Circle building, which is a part of this district of University Circle, it's 7 major buildings, 2 parking garages that go together in 5 pieces. You'll be seeing it this way as we present it, because we're not done today. It's lots of streetscape, multiple users. It's a true mixed-use community. Next, please. What's happening here is that the streets are in distress. They're in horrible condition. I think we've talked about this some. I hopefully you've been anticipating what the public improvements would be. We waited on this. We needed to identify our program. We needed to understand the fabric of the community as it emerged from a people standpoint. When you add everything around this context that you're seeing in this image, including Park Lane Villa, One University Circle, Judson, the Fenway Manor, which are all existing established buildings and projects, and then put in the 2,000 people that will live in our community, we're looking at over 3,000 people within a 3-minute walk. It's pretty astounding. That's New York, Chicago density. The streets are critical to this. So this is a transformation project, and reestablishing, as it says here, the urban street grid was critical because it's disconnected, it's torn and tattered, and frankly, it just doesn't operate from a pedestrian standpoint. Next. And of course, our primary objective, if you look here, is to clean up the mess, as you can see in the lower aerial photo that was left behind from the 1950s to zip people out of Cleveland as quickly as possible as we were in decline, going from 900,000 people to under 400,000. The mode of operation for the transportation engineers was get them out as quick as you can. And our objective here is to bring them back. And you can see from the upper right sketch that this truly is a city center of University Circle, for University Circle. It's smack dab right in the middle on a long opportunity corridor, which you heard about, East 105th Street, between the clinic, University Hospital's case, all of the culture and the neighborhoods that surround it. This is here to serve everyone. Our ultimate motivation here is to bring people, density, mixed uses, economic and cultural vitality and diversity to this community, and to make the pedestrian realm dominant. And that was critical because this has always been a vehicular oriented part of the city, and it's horrible. And we are changing that. Okay, next. You've seen this drawing. Everything in red comes out. That's all the slip ramps and speedway aisles and so forth. And what we're going to do is transform what you see here next, please, into this, which is a gridded street with a hierarchy and a prioritization of uses along each street. We're changing everything we possibly can because there's very little that's right about what's here now. Chester Avenue is a speedway. It's still 6 lanes, but we've reestablished 2 intersections at Chester, at MLK and Stokes. True intersections don't exist, with shortened crosswalks. We've added bump outs to the corners. We've reduced Stokes Boulevard from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. We've added on-street parking. We've widened the sidewalks from pretty much nothing to 20 feet. We have new right-of-way lines. We've taken Reserve Court, which is blocked off in 2 places today. It is a public right-of-way. Nobody knows that. We've opened it up into what we call a shared street, and you'll hear about that in a minute. It's very innovative, and that is how we service this entire infrastructure. It's the heart, really the heartbeat of the neighborhood, and we have a very innovative way to do it. And Stokes Boulevard, more than anything else, is the main street. It will be chock full of retail. You can see from the picture that our first 19-story tower is under construction. This is very, very real. That's $110 million that's under construction there with the tower crane. Next, please. And our parking garages. Other than on the street, there's not a surface parking space in this project. This is the garage that will be under construction. Well, actually, one part of it, stage 1 for the Artisan building, is under construction. That's what you saw. Stage 2 will be under construction. There's going to be 731 cars in this garage. It's not small. It's got to service all the residential and the retail in this district and the public library. And so it is both a public and a private garage. Where we put stairs is critically important. And you can see in that yellow color, and this is important to the streetscape, that where people come and go from this garage is extremely important to activating the neighborhood, making it safe, accessible, pleasant, welcoming. All of these things impacted the streetscape that we're going to show you now. Next, please. I want to introduce Cassandra Rice from Site Design Group in Chicago. We looked extensively for the right landscape architect for this project. Extremely important. We hired him actually, I don't know, the first of this year, January, and we interviewed firms and we picked Site for 3 reasons. One is they come from a big city, much like ours. They understand urbanity. They have created creative solutions for the kinds of things we have here. The second thing is their work is not staid. It's not routine. You don't see it the same way on all of their projects. It's fresh. And we wanted something fresh and contemporary and amazing here, unprecedented for Cleveland. And lastly, they really wanted this project. They really wanted to work with us. They're true collaborators. So I'd like to introduce Cassandra, who is the project manager. She is our partner on this, and she's going to walk you through the streetscape we're proposing.
Thanks, Paul. So this first image here really helps to lay out what our big ideas were for the streetscape. We looked a lot at the buildings, the architecture, the uses that were going to occur in the future buildings, both the Artisan and the East Stokes building. And we really tried to kind of help the streetscapes create this very vibrant, active city that would have the feeling of developing over time, but also be consistent to create this iconic district. So with that, we looked at creating these segments of the street that would have their own unique identity, but through materiality, through the landscape, through the site furnishings, it all connects together to be this cohesive district, yet you get these different experiences throughout them. So the garden on West Stokes, the promenade that ties into the retail on East Stokes, the terraces that tie into the office on East Stokes, and then as Paul mentioned, Reserve Court, which really serves to be our shared street that creates this active public plaza-like atmosphere right in the heart of the district. You can go to the next slide, please. And so this is our rendered concept that we'll zoom into and get into a little bit more detail for each of the streets. But really the framework of this is these bands of light and dark colored concrete with these rugs of pavers that really delineate where our pedestrian gathering spaces are. And then throughout that layered in our different landscape elements, from our raised planters to our standing planters and various shade and ornamental trees. We'll go to the next slide. So starting with Chester, this is our schematic sketch of the corner of Chester and Stokes. And so you can kind of start to see a little bit of the gathering spaces, what we call our corners, at the edge here with the seating. And then the next slide is a little bit more illustrative of really the entire design intent of Chester looking down Stokes. So not only have we looked at how the streetscape can function, working really closely with Baker, but also really trying to create that interaction between the architecture, the streetscape, to create a wide pedestrian realm where people can circulate throughout, but then also creating these nodes where they can gather. So you can kind of see the corner of Chester and Stokes there, where we're starting to get our rugs and our gathering spaces. And then on the left side, that there's another corner with our rug and our gathering spaces and an opportunity for public art. So another layer of this is looking for opportunities where we can incorporate public art through sculpture, maybe through the bike racks, maybe through a few other elements to really create an active, vibrant space here. We can go to the next slide. And so getting into Stokes, which is the retail street of the corridor, we really spent a lot of time working through how we could layer in our landscape to create a shaded, kind of welcoming atmosphere, while also providing a lot of room for flexibility with the different uses in the building. So our wide sidewalks provide opportunity for people to circulate, but then we also have space where we can have outdoor seating and cafe seating. And you can kind of see there in the middle, you can't see my mouse, but the little red asterisks show where we could have some public art opportunities. And two of those in the middle are in what we call our living rooms, and we'll zoom into those and get in a little bit more detail. But you can see in the images to the top right, the different materiality that we're looking to incorporate into the overall district and the overall streetscape. So the bands of the light and gray integral color concrete, very clear sidewalks, crosswalks, and then 3 and 4 illustrate the different kind of paver materials we're looking at that really help to delineate our gathering spaces. The whole palette is very neutral in terms of the hardscape, but we want to bring in pops of color through our site furnishings, through our planters, through the public art, and that interaction with the buildings and the signage to really make a vibrant streetscape here. And we go to the next slide. So this is our conceptual sketch of what Stokes would look like. We see our mature shade trees, ornamental trees. The yellow indicates kind of those pops of color with the planters and the site furnishings. And then you go to the next slide, which really helps to illustrate what the character of this district would be like, with different seating opportunities from the benches and the different planters. You can see there's wide enough sidewalk that you can have groups of 2 people passing each other in opposite directions. You have that interaction with the transparency with the street front. And then also one of the things that I think Paul mentioned in the parking garage was the garage entrance there in the background. And so this really, again, helps to create that connection between all of these new buildings that are going in and finding places for people to park so they can come and they can stay, and then they can actually exit right out onto the retail street right in the heart of everything. And next slide. And so I mentioned a couple times these corners and these living rooms. So the way we approach this street was that it's more than a place for people to pass through. We want it to be a place where people can come and they can shop and they can live and they can work. But then as they're waiting on doing all of the things that they want to do in the buildings, they can also be out on the street and have that vibrant urban experience and life that we really want to see. So we've categorized our seating areas in kind of these four types, where corners, where we have these large kind of pocket park type of environments, living rooms, which really kind of create these gathering spaces in the heart of the blocks themselves. And then scattered throughout are these different nodes and edges that are more for smaller, intimate spaces that can be scattered throughout. So it provides an opportunity for all kinds of seating and gathering and different groups and types of people throughout. And you can go to the next slide. So looking at our corners, one of the kind of signature pieces of the entire streetscape design are what we call our rugs. And so while most of the streetscape are these alternating bands of concrete, we wanted to incorporate these special paver areas in strategic locations, specifically our corners and our living rooms, where we have this rug that really serves as kind of a welcoming atmosphere to gather people in. And so this is our conceptual sketch of what those would look like with different seating opportunities. You go to the next slide. Our nodes, which are the smaller pieces, is the smaller gathering spaces where we may have these kind of block elements that allow for single individual people to sit on them, so you don't have to be in a group. They also bring in our pops of color, and they also add a level of kind of playfulness to the streetscape. You can imagine kids kind of running around and jumping from block to block. And the next slide. And then our edges. So these are primarily concentrated in the terrace area, which is on the south portion of Stokes, closer to Stokes and Euclid. And these spaces are really meant to be kind of passive seating areas that have different levels. And so you can have different groups and quantities of people. And we've really seen these kind of seating opportunities be really fitting, especially around office environments, because it allows people, if they're sitting outside, waiting on a phone call or an appointment or a meeting, taking their lunch. And so that those the character of those seating areas are primarily down by the office, but again, kind of trying to tie in this kind of active, vibrant space throughout the entire extent of Stokes. Next slide. And then finally, our living rooms. And so these are located in the heart of the block along Stokes. One of them is right at the exit from the parking garage. Again, this specialty paver rug that really welcomes you out onto the street. This conceptually shows some sort of an art piece, so another opportunity for public art, different types of seating, adding in that color and the playfulness through the different block seating as well. And next slide. And so this is our design development rendering of that same space. So you see the exit from the parking garage, this kind of fun terrace seating that's there on the right with the woman on her laptop. Again, bringing in pops of color, whether it's green or yellow. And then in the background, having an opportunity for public art to really highlight these spaces and draw people's eyes and really get them to gather in these areas. The next slide.
I'm going to pick up here for a minute and talk about Reserve Court. This was arguably the most challenging part of the project. An infrastructure like this, which is enormous, the people infrastructure and the physical infrastructure with all of these complex buildings, new and existing, and trying to transform it from what it is to what we hope it can be, requires enormous effort and modifications. And Reserve Court was the biggest. If you look at this series of picture and you see Reserve Court, you can see you crashed into an auto repair place, and then it's fenced off right in the middle. There's no sidewalks. There's fences on the side. There was an old transformer station. Then there's lines of parking lots, more fences, the library parking lot in number 2. And then you start to get close to the Fenway and the library in number 3 and 4, and you see more fences and brick walls, and again, sidewalks that are about 1.5 feet wide. You can't walk on them. It's totally unsafe. Garbage delivery, dumpsters, trash, transformers, and not a window in sight unless you get up above the first story. It's horrible. How do you turn this into the center that Cassandra mentioned? This is physically the center of this district, the center of Circle Square. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see we started to deconstruct it. We started to take what needed to be here that's here already, like I can't point, but where the Fenway is, they have to get food in and out. They have to get trash in and out and so forth. We have to make that work. We have to service the brand new library on the south side of Reserve Court. It has trash to get in and out. It has book deliveries. So does Library Lofts. We have our parking garage to the north. That's one of 2 entrances. This will be the main resident entrance. People will come in and out from here. And then we had to have loading docks for our trucks. We have lots of retail. Where do we put those? Well, we don't want them on Euclid Avenue. We didn't want retail truck service on Stokes Boulevard. I mean, there's no way. So it had to be here. So you can see that we have these arrows and these funny blue lines on the top one. And what we're looking at is vehicular movements. How do you take automobiles and move them through here as slowly as possible, delineate the difference between the left side, which is a service zone, and the right side, which is truly a pedestrian zone. And this is where the shared street idea comes in. And this is very real. It's more than a name. It's actually a real concept that we're going to share with you. And then on the top side, we have the trucks. Occasionally, we'll have some big ones that come in. Generally, they come in the evening, not during the busy time, the busy walkable time of the day. But we have to accommodate them. But they have turning movements. And one of the things about a shared street is it figures out innovative ways in an urban environment. It's a total urban concept, is to make the paving look and feel small. The street's only 22 feet wide. We want it to look and feel small, so the curb line is to the outside. Again, I'm sorry I can't point, but then we have an inner curb, which is defined by bollards and paving materials, and Cass is going to explain that to you in a minute, so that we have places where trucks can go over the curb, not hit anybody because it's outside of the pedestrian realm, but when trucks aren't doing that, which is very, very infrequent that they are, we actually have streets that remain visually and functionally narrow for the automobile. There's another component that I won't explain that Cass will, but it's that kink of the street that you see in the lower one. We'll talk about it. This is a marvelous thing. We're going to show you a couple of precedents now. So if you'd flip. Next slide, please.
Yeah, hold on a minute.
Okay.
By the way, I turned on annotation for you, Paul, so you may be able to actually, and that's actually why I'm having a trouble right now.
That's okay, Michael. We're doing good. You're flipping quick. You can just keep it going.
Okay. Well, I wanted you to be able to point, so that's why I turned on annotation.
Can anybody see my? Oh yeah, you can. There's my. Great, beautiful. Okay. All right, we're going to start doing this together, Cassandra, because it's very important. And one of the reasons it's important is because this is public work. It's being done by public dollars. It's a public right-of-way. And we are asking the City of Cleveland Engineering Construction Department and Traffic Engineering to approve it. We've reviewed it with them. They are understanding it now. We hope to receive final approval soon. We've come up with some mutual understanding on certain aspects of it. But it's important that the Planning Commission see this, that the Planning Commission supports it, because there are traditional ways to do things that just aren't up to the standard of the city that we hope to become. which is what, frankly, this whole planning commission meeting's been out, particularly with Opportunity Corridor being discussed. That said, the National Association of City Transportation Officials have adopted shared street standards. They have drawings. They deal with things like chicanes. And Cass, you want to explain to them what a chicane is?
Sure. So the idea behind a chicane is really a slight jog in the roadway. And the benefit of this is really for traffic calming. So it doesn't, apologies, the air and water show is this weekend, so apologies for noise. So what this does is it slows traffic. It doesn't impede traffic flow in any way. It's just a slight jog that drivers have to make. That the resulting aspect of that is that it slows them down and makes it safer for pedestrians. And so we've incorporated this as part of Reserve Court, which we will get into after we show some of the examples of how this works kind of in the real world right now. And so you can go to the next slide. We'll get into those. So you can see here in both of these examples, one of the other ideas behind a shared street is that they are, while the lines between pedestrian and vehicular are blurred in the sense of there may be no curb distinguishing the two of them, they're made clear through distinguishing pavement features, through bollards, as Paul had mentioned, through planters, through raised planters, and detectable warnings. And so you see here in Bell Street on the left side, there is a slight chicane that goes kind of that jog on the right-hand side or the right side of the page. And you can see the delineation between the pedestrian and the vehicular realm through the line of the detectable warnings, through the planters. Yet at the same time, if you were to look at this all at once, like we are now with no one in it, it looks like a large plaza space. And that's really the goal behind Reserve Court, is to create this large plaza space that really creates this connecting fabric between Stokes and Library Lofts and the future park/plaza that's going to be there, while also serving the vehicular and the loading needs that we have on that street. And we can go to the next slide. And so we have a couple examples of shared streets that we have done here in the city of Chicago, one in particular being Argyle, which is in the Uptown neighborhood. And this street has a slight chicane. It has no curb. And again, the distinguishing factor between pedestrian and vehicular is the line of pavers that you see there kind of in the foreground between the tree and the car. And it really has helped to slow vehicles down, provide additional visibility to the retail. And one of the things that we're really proud about in terms of how this has really transformed the neighborhood is that there are no vacancies in any of these retail and restaurant businesses. They have the high visibility, they have a lot of pedestrian foot traffic, and then it's also really helpful for the SSA and the organizations because they're able to shut down the street and do the Argyle night market on a regular basis in the summer to, again, create this really active, vibrant feel within the neighborhood. And then Paul, if you want to cover the Ernst & Young Plaza.
Yeah, go back one, please. Just very quickly, if anyone, says, well, is this safe? Is this a safe thing to do? Well, first of all, our street isn't designed to walk on, okay? It's clearly delineated where you drive and where you walk, but it feels like one large plaza space. We have delineated crosswalks. We're going to have rigid 16-inch diameter, very cool poured concrete bollards. If something hits it, it ain't going anywhere. We have signage and wayfinding devices. And the only time people will be encouraged to walk in the street is when we close, and we'll show you when we go through the plan, is when we close the east side of the street down, the west side can still operate from a service standpoint, and we could have events. And Steve, as the developer and the owner of this, said, that's wonderful. I want that. I'd like the ability to have an event, a market, a fair, food trucks, whatever at certain times come out and add to the vitality of this as a residential neighborhood, a high density residential neighborhood. What happened in the flats is that if, you know, I'm sure everybody's been down there, is they put in a big cul-de-sac, they wrap buildings around it. The sidewalks are not well delineated. There are no crosswalks. The bollards are spindly little aluminum things, as you can see in the picture, and people cut diagonally across it. It's designed to encourage that, and it doesn't work. Someone got hit, lawsuits, and there was concern that what we were doing here was going to be a replicate of that. Well, it's absolutely not going to be, because it's designed to work and operate as a true shared street, which this was not. Unfortunately, it was not. Okay, last slides. We're almost done.
So the last example, which is a very good, a very comparable use case to Reserve, is McCormick Square. So this is right in the heart of the McCormick Conference Center. And Prairie Avenue is a service drive that allows trucks, taxis, deliveries, loading to access the conference center. So when it's being used, it's very active with all of this truck traffic, and it serves that purpose. When it's not, it is treated, as you can see in the top right, as this kind of community plaza. There are a lot of fitness groups, mom and baby groups that kind of come out here and use this as a gathering space. But it also, again, just like Reserve Court needs to, serves that function for the surrounding businesses for loading trucks, drop-offs, all of that. So it's a very good use case that is very functional, but also creates a space for the residents who live around it. Go to the next slide. So this is our conceptual rendering of Stokes, where you can see the pavement markings, that alternating bands continues throughout the streetscape to create that blur between where the roadway and the sidewalk is, yet at the same time, you can see the very clear delineation of where the sidewalk is through the trees, the planters, and the different pavement markings. You go to the next slide. And then before we kind of finish up with the shared street, we'll just touch on the landscape. So we've thought, you know, really carefully about how we're going to approach the landscape and the planting along the streets, with the orange on the right side being what we called our garden, and that first big picture or big ideas image as being more lush with lots of trees, lots of understory. Being a single tenant on that side, we have the opportunity to create a more kind of park-like atmosphere or garden-like atmosphere. And then on the promenade and terrace side, being more strategic about our planting location so that we can get that visibility into the storefronts. And you can go to the next slide. And so we've started looking at what that specifically looks like within our planting areas, making sure that our list includes native and adapted species that have four-season interest and are bring a lot of color and texture into the streetscape. And next slide. So some example images of what those plants would be, from coneflower to having some maples, and a very diverse and vibrant plant palette. And we go to the next slide.
So let me explain what we are asking you, the Planning Commission, approval for today. First, the motion that was made at design review, and which was approved, as you'll hear, was the full schematic design for the project. Everything that we're trying to do here, which is build buildings, lease space, and construct, is contingent on all of this infrastructure that we're showing here being approved, being allowed to happen. The right-of-ways have been established. The essential infrastructure has been approved. And today we're here for part 3, which is the streetscape. We're not asking for final approval on anything but a small piece of the streetscape, because this project is built in phases. What you see in green is phase 1. This is what we need final approval on. And the reason for it is the Artisan building, which I'm pointing at, is under construction. We got to get just this piece of streetscape built so the residents can move in. This can get a certificate of occupancy. So our schedule, which I'll show you, is contingent on getting final design on this. with a few exceptions, and we'll get into that in a second. The rest of it is just road work, the intersection, the traffic lights and all of that. No work on Stokes, no work on MLK. That comes in later phases. Reserve Court, we're going to show you the whole thing in a minute, including the short shared street part, but that's in phase 2. It's what's colored blue. What's in green is the part that's not shared street, but it services the parking garage and the Martin Luther King Jr. Public Library. Those things can operate with dedicated access to 105th Street, which is actually how we want them to work when everything is built. But in order to open things up and build the garage so we can tear the old library down and finish the rest of this block, we need to have this street done. So we're going to be asking for approval so these 3 buildings that you've seen can get built. Flip, please. So it's what you're seeing here, which is the upper part of Chester Avenue and the intersections, and this piece of Reserve Court. Next slide, please. This is the schedule. Here's where we are today, the 19th and the 20th. In 2 months, we will be submitting our tracing submittal, which is what it's called, to the City Engineering Department. And our intent is to go out to bid in November and get this under construction in March. The weather is perfect, and this is time to sync with the finishing of the Artisan building, which is very big and very complicated, in June of 23. Next slide. We have submitted our drawings. You can see they're very detailed. We are locked in now with all the infrastructure, as I said, and we need your schematic design approval on the streetscape and final design on this one little piece along Chester, which we're going to show you now. Next slide. So this is Chester. Cass, if you would explain this.
Sure. So the first phase of Chester will be from the right in front of the Artisan. And as you can see, we have, again, the alternating bands of dark and light concrete with our rugs, which will be this hexagon pattern. They're at the corner where we have seating, and then also right in front of the Artisan's entrance, where we're also creating kind of this coffee shop-like atmosphere with outdoor seating. Again, trying to tie in that active pedestrian aspect really everywhere that we have the opportunity for that. And then, as Paul mentioned in previous drawings, we have the bump out there at Stokes and Chester. And so this is really, really key in the entire streetscape strategy because it shrinks the distance that pedestrians have to cross, making it a lot safer for them. And then we also made sure that it works with all of the turning radius that we need. And then you can see there with that asterisk, this would be, so the west side of Chester and Stokes would be a future phase. But again, as you mentioned in previous drawings, we are continuing to look for opportunities for public art. So that is something that we're considering even as we're doing the drawings for the first phase of Chester.
This is Steve. If I could just jump in real quickly, what you're really going to see as we progress through this, and I know there's, as especially Stokes, probably more information that we will need to gather for you with regard to materials and et cetera. But what you're going to see is that we're going to be building these at a time frame when the construction is sufficiently complete, so we know that when we put this in, it's not going to get torn up. So generally, as you go through the schedule, that's what's reflected as you see these numbers in the schedule. And I just want you to realize that's done on purpose. It also has an advantage that it spreads out the infrastructure cost, which we all think is a good thing, including the folks that we have been working with the city. So I just wanted to mention that to you. But the reason for this is we now have the first building under construction, so we need to deal with what they need while we go through the whole picture with you.
Next slide, please. We'll end with Reserve Court, and we'll get you out of here real close to noon. This is the west end of Reserve Court, and it is primarily adding a third lane. Again, this is where our trucks and stuff are going to come and go. And we've added a third turning lane so you can make the left turn. And we're putting a sidewalk in that doesn't exist. We're adding a 7-foot sidewalk. All again, pedestrian connections are important. There are none today, so that you can come in from the west, walk all the way down. It gets wider, and then this is our parking garage, and this is where the crosswalks. This is the corner of the library, and all of that activity comes in. In fact, this is Library Drive right here. It's hard to tell on this drawing, but you'll see it in the next one because we're going to show you the whole street, both phase 2 and phase 3, so you can see it as a total composition. Next slide, please. There you go. Cass?
So, yes. Yeah. So for Reserve Court, again, we keep talking about this as a shared street. So to help kind of explain that, we have listed and we have illustrated the different kind of curb functions. What we mean by shared street in this instance is that we are making sure that we are providing all of the needs for all of our loading, service, and pedestrians, while also making sure it's a very active and pedestrian-friendly area. So starting from the west, we have Reserve Court in the gray. That is a typical street section where we have our sidewalk and the roadway delineated by curb. In this case, we are showing in the pink line as a granite curb. This would be a rolled curb. And reason being because with the truck turning radii that Paul showed in a little earlier, we have to be able to accommodate those wide turns for the trucks. And so we've accommodated that through the rolled curb as well as through our granite cobbles, which you can see in number 2. So not only do we have the curb, but we also have the material change that delineates where those trucks are going. At the same time, we've layered in some features to make sure that we are keeping pedestrians safe. So the dots you see at number 5 and close to number 3 are a combination of larger, heftier bollards you see in the image number 5 at the top right, as well as some raised planters that would be, again, large, bulky, making sure they're still very nice planters, but we wanted them to be large enough and hefty enough that they would make sure that we're really calling out that delineation between where trucks go and where pedestrians go. And then as we move east, we see the transition between our kind of traditional roadway into our shared street, where we're continuing that alternating paving pattern into the streetscape itself. Again, keeping things delineated, this time through a curb, so through our traditional 6-inch raised curb, and then also through planters that delineate between the roadway and the pedestrian area. Another thing to note is that this is where you can really start to see the chicane. And so if you go, just straight west to east, you notice there's a little jog. And what that jog allowed us to do is not only slow traffic, but also provide a sidewalk for Fenway. And then it also provides this little nook there where that car is parked so that we can have the service, the trash collection, the moving trucks, everything that the Fenway needs to function. And then on the north side of that street on number 9, we also have a drop-off that would serve for any sort of Uber and taxi drop-offs, as well as kind of a lay-by-lane for the hotel. So providing very clear delineation between where all these users go, while also providing the opportunity that because it's designed as this kind of shared plaza space, that you could close it down even from number 8 to Stokes, and have a farmer's market, have any sort of outdoor art festival, any sort of event that would create this kind of plaza-like feeling.
And we hope someday that this parking lot for Fenway might become public space, some or all of it, and all of this would connect through. So Fenway right now, which is an island of senior citizens that have really limited connection to the street, now have public space across the front with the bump out. They've got an 8-foot sidewalk that they can walk around and connect safely this way or across the street. And again, it becomes an intergenerational mixed people use community, and we like that. Last slide, and we're finished. And this is how we intend for it to look. How the shared street, this is our 100% corner at Stokes and Reserve Court would feel. in the
Thank you.
fall.
With falling leaves.
With falling leaves.
All right. So, commission members, I think we're probably better off doing this in two motions. The first one would be for schematic design approval for
Are
the
you,
entire
Mr. Chair, are you
project.
gonna allow for comment?
Yeah, I will. I'm
Okay.
just, I'm just kind of laying this out so we know what we're doing at the end of the day.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
And then what I would do is take a motion after that for final approval for Chester and the western portion of Reserve Court, both the streetscape and the infrastructure plan. So,
And Chairman Bowen, if I might, we will come back on the final approval if you grant it. We will come back with final plant materials, signage and graphics, public art later on, but that'll be a whole process in and of itself. We'll come back with public art. But those things traditionally we come back with later, and we will do that before this goes out to bid, probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, but obviously we got to get your cartways in.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So, okay, I'll open it up to commission members.
So we have Director Collier and Kim Scott also with their hand raised, but go ahead.
Let's let August go first because he was the one biting at the bit.
I just want to say a few things, and
sure,
this is simple sophistication. You know, selfishly, I am proud to know that I invested down the street from here in my home over 20 years ago, and this is why we did, because we were optimistic that things like this would happen along Euclid. So I just like to commend the team and Paul and those guys for taking the care and attention and designing which I believe is like a wonderful streetscape. So thank you.
Thank you. Director?
Yeah, I just want to say a couple of things. One, kudos on a couple of things. One, the pedestrian realm here is, I think, pretty magnificent with respect to the sidewalks, the notion of the, kind of outdoor living rooms and spaces, making the streetscape a place. I think you guys, did a home run on that one. And then the whole notion of shared streets, which we're very much familiar with, I think, that plaza feeling makes the actual spaces in between buildings seem seamless. And I think that's a really great feature. And I've seen that, in Europe, where you have, all of the different, pedestrians, cyclists, which I want to talk about a little bit more, cars and everything in the same space, but it's organized and you can actually tell, even though they're all on the same plane. So I thought that was really cool to see here. And there's a couple of projects that can take some cues from this, by the way. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, just with respect to the parking spaces, all vehicles are going to be going electric in the next decade. One, have you considered having EV charging facilities on street in some of those parking spaces there? Because I think that's going to be a really important thing. It's something that's not pie in the sky. It's going to be very real very soon. And then the other thing, with respect to bicycle and accommodations for alternative modes, which is very important. When we look at downtown on a map and we look at like University Circle, these are some of the most dense, best areas in our city. And when you look at them from a mode choice standpoint, they're like holes in a donut. So if you can talk a little bit about how the bicycle connections flow through this site. I know that there's a lot of connections that flank this site, but just how that type of road user moves through this site, because the way this is designed, it's a space for everybody, right? And it can be a space for all modes, but I want to just kind of drill down on that. And as you come back with your final design, if you can kind of consider, those things, the EV facilities, as well as, looking at sort of those bicycle connections, scooter connections, through the actual site itself, with respect to how it integrates with the infrastructure. So that's it. But this is really, really classy. I think it almost feels like it creates another district in the city, which is really awesome to me. Thanks.
So, and Freddie, I think you're exactly right. The one thing that I think about is what's going to happen with the scooters when they move into their suites. Do they drop them off in the ornamental grass or on the paver rugs? And, having something where someone feels like this is their obligation to put the scooter instead of just leaving it would be great.
Yeah, they have mobility hubs that are being developed. And the beauty about the way this is designed with the bump outs and the large sidewalks, you can easily put sort of those hubs there or have some type of parking for shared mobility devices. And the reason why we bring this up, guys, this is like a real part of how we are living in the 21st century. And these things are here to stay. Multiple modes of transportation are going to only get more, advanced as technology increases. And we got to have flexible streets and flexible spaces. And, this is where I think the whole concept around this having this plaza type feel can be very advantageous for absorbing that as technology changes in the future.
Well, let me try and answer some of this, and then I'm going to rely on Kim Scott, who's been a real partner, not just an administrator, but a partner in this, to talk about our transportation committee and our focus on bicycles, of which you'll notice in this rendering there are 2 of them. So we recognize the importance of it. I love the idea of charging stations on the street. Hadn't thought of that. And if that makes sense, we should consider that and put it into the mix as our group talks. Inside the garage, I expect that we will, because the residents will want them. And we know that they're already included, dedicated in the garage that the Artisan building has. We do have a large enclosed bicycle room tucked under the ramp right at ground level in our parking garage, in the public parking garage. And it's a perfect place for bikes and scooters. It's large. It's not a little hole in the wall. If you want to see it, I can show you on the garage plan. On the street, that was one of the ideas that the committee came up with. And I think it's a good time to pass it off to Kim. I hope I didn't miss anything, Freddie, that you asked for. But I would like Kim to explain this, because we're dealing with this not as developer. We're dealing this sort of at a higher civic level and trying to think about the regional connections. Kim, you still there?
I am.
Good.
Thank you, Paul. And Director Collier framed that very well. The details that I'm going to read off actually came from Callie, our city's bike pedestrian coordinator. We had the occasion to meet with the development team as well as UCI to really look at those bike pedestrian connections and bike connections in particular. So these are Callie's words. It's an development that will change the context and draw of the area. I appreciate the attention and thoughtfulness to the pedestrian realm, and I'm grateful for the project team's openness to working with staff to look at potential enhancements to bicycle connections through the site development. There are several high-quality bicycle connections. They include the Opportunity Corridor multi-use path that ends at 105, actually up to Chester. The Euclid Corridor, we know it's a multimodal system, as well as the Harrison-Dillard Trail just to the east of the site. They all come up to the margins of the site, but do not connect to each other or destinations within the project site. So that's really kind of a critical point, because we know that just like Cleveland Clinic, just like University Circle, this project will have a regional draw. I mean, make no mistake. It's given the location of the development and its impact, this is a good opportunity to work with the design team to make some of those connections. The city, UCI, and the project team met on Friday the 13th, and we had a follow-up meeting this week. The group identified some opportunities to help bicyclists comfortably and easily get to Circle Square destinations. We will need to explore them further given the constraints of the adjacent roadways, intersections, and the site needs. The group will meet within the next month or so to continue to pursue these concepts. We hope as the site plan progresses, we will be able to come back to the committee and commission with design updates that make these bicycle connections comfortable and apparent through a possible combination of bike infrastructure, roadway striping, and wayfinding signage. We recommend that the Planning Commission approve the site plans as presented with the condition that accommodations for bicycle connectivity be included when future phases of the design are presented for approvals.
Thank you, Kim. Commission members?
David, may I say one more thing that I'd like to say on the public record?
Sure.
I think it's important for the Planning Commission, because of who you are and what you do, to be aware of this. I mean, you know, in all the years, we all do things in the city and we see things in the city, and we see public investment, and sometimes it's questioned, what does it yield? What do we get? You know, so that's taken place with our public sports facilities that I personally support, but a lot of public money goes into those. Take this project, which is over $400 million. The same cost as what wants to be put into the progressive field. 4%, all this infrastructure you're seeing, which is all public, all in a public right of way, 4% of that $400 million plus is going into these streets, including public art. Imagine that. Such a small investment, about $12 million is all that we've requested and are hoping to get funded for a private investment, totally private investment of over $400 million. That's pretty remarkable. And I just think that the gain that we get as a community from what we had here in this decrepit part of the city is remarkable. And I just think those figures are worth noting.
No, that's great, Paul. Appreciate it. Commission members?
So to that point, the request is for public dollars to install, and then how will the maintenance be funded? Both for the streetscape and the streets.
Well, I mean, those are discussions, Diane, that always come up, that always take place. There is no special improvement district here like there is downtown, or in other parts of University Circle. We hope that Chris has visions of that taking place here. It's hard because there are so many institutions. The city, typically cities try to take responsibility for maintenance, and we, the private sector, try and design things that are very maintainable. The plants here will be maintainable, and everything is going to be as durable as it can be, but things will require maintenance. So we're talking about that. I don't know where it will officially end up, but the one thing that we can't allow to happen is to have good design and great places be stripped down, because everybody's pointing the finger about who pays for what. It's a very difficult discussion, because it comes up all the time.
Well, it's a lovely design. It's just, if it's not maintained, it's not going to be great in 5 or 10 years. So
well, this is Steve Rubin. Let me, since I'm as the developer and the one who's having a lot of those conversations, we really haven't gotten to the point of narrowing down where public responsibility stops and the private responsibility starts. I'm sure we will have that conversation. We have been focused to date on the design piece of it, and with regard to the dollars, there's still conversation going on. I want to be respectful of that and continue to deal with people who are responsible for that. And we are not going to put this kind of investment in and let what you see here, die and wither on the vine. It's just not going to happen. So I can assure you, one way or the other, if this is placed, if this design actually can happen, one way or the other, we'll figure out who's doing what and satisfy that question.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first motion I would look for is the one for the schematic design approval for the complete presentation. So can I have that first?
And Mr. Chairman, and also just making sure that, as the phases evolve, the notion, this is something that obviously that they've been working with the city on, but we'll need to continue to massage a little, is the wayfinding piece of this and the striping, and just making sure that it's clear that, all modes are, kind of welcome here on the streets going through the site. And those are low-hanging fruit type of solutions that I think can be accommodated.
I agree. So schematic design approval.
I move to approve schematic design as presented, with the caveat that the team continues to work with the city to iron out details relative to public art, species and materials, of plants and materials.
I'll second.
Motion second. Michael, call the roll, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight,
Yes.
Motion carries. Now I would entertain a motion for final approval, and this is for Chester and the western portions of Reserve Court Streetscape and Infrastructure Plan.
I move to approve Reserve Court, western portion of Reserve Court and Chester as a final approval, contingent upon the team coming back to review signage, public art, and final plant materials.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Michael, call the roll.
Bowen,
Yes.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slight,
Yes.
Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing you in your final design.
Thanks,
you.
David. Thanks all.
Sorry for the time.
Right.
It's just a big.
Have
It's just
a
big
great
undertaking,
weekend.
but thank you for your patience.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Director's report.
Yes, real quick, one thing that is coming up, everyone, that's very important, Midtown Vision Plan, August 30th at 9:30 at Digital C. We will be having a special planning commission meeting to hear the Midtown Master Plan. So you guys will be receiving an invitation on Monday for that special meeting. As you recall, we indicated that we would be adopting a series of plans out in the neighborhood so that people in the community can take part and also see how government works with respect to the Planning Commission and our function.
Now,
So
when is that?
give you that update.
What was the date?
We're looking at August 30th, Monday, August 30th.
Ooh. I'm on vacation.
At what time?
9:30 is the time that's on hold for now.
I'm on vacation.
That's really
Right.
difficult. Okay.
Okay. All right. So once you get the notification, just let us know of your availability when you receive that. If adjustments have to be made, then that's exactly what will happen. But that's
Okay.
that we were looking at. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it's a special meeting, so we can make the adjustment.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, to Mr. Collier, concerning Metro Health,
Yes.
I truly believe that we should not provide any more final approvals for buildings until they present the final streetscape and urban design for the green space. I think, that's just my personal opinion. If we can consider that.
Okay, I appreciate that. They are finalizing as part of the Clark Fulton Together plan, the green space. So we've gone through a few years process on that. So I'm assuming that that plan should be out pretty soon. So that might not be a bad prospect to do that. It's just if that plan is ready, they're looking at September. So I'm assuming that that may be adequate time to have that rolled out so that we can make that sort of comparison. One thing that I do want to emphasize that I had discussions with Matt Moss about is when these investments are happening incrementally as part of an overall master plan, one of the things that we want to make sure that it's kind of building up to that ultimate, outcome, particularly from a connectivity standpoint. So when he was talking about the green space and the new facility that they're building, making sure that the pedestrian connections to that green space are clearly delineated. So you're setting yourself up for what you know is to come at some point. And we have to be very thoughtful about that, which means, to the point that you made in the meeting, that you always want to show the master plan to recenter people as to really what it is you're trying to accomplish. That also was the point in the conversation earlier with respect to Opportunity Corridor, is really connecting the dots. And I think when you don't do that, some of those conversations get lost in translation. And I will say this in closing, I said this in the meeting on the 13th, there's planning decisions and then there's other decisions that, are made. Our job is to look at things through a planning lens, and, with respect to the whole asphalt facility, there is no appetite, for that from a planning lens. And I'll just be clear. But when we talk about a community producing facility that creates jobs and readies people for jobs, that does fit within our planning purview. And that's the why behind that site, that location, and what that institute itself, seeks to do. And I just want to really emphasize that, because we understand, the importance of how we use our land to service the people who are going to experience that land, and it has to be community enhancing. It's not just about aesthetics. It's not just about ideation. It's about, what does this place do for my life prospects? And I think that's a direct link to the desires of not just the city, but the fund and everyone else with respect to creating jobs. You got to have workforce readiness. And I think that's a piece of the big puzzle.
Thank you. All right, are we all done?
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
You guys take care.
Thank you.